He's cool as fuck, man.
Okay,
he's
awesome.
too cool. You don't want to do a commercial in front of Stanhope.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Makes your balls suck into your...
Yeah, you get the retracting penis.
Just felt weak.
You know, that's
Looking at his
considered
eyes.
a disease. It's called Cora. In Malaysia and Africa, there are men who believe that their witchcraft can make their penis disappear into their body. And that's why they burn those witches in Africa still, because they think that they've stolen their penis. It's called Cora. It's a culturally defined disease. Anyway, it's that time of the month again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with my two favorite boys.
Hi.
Joe and Duncan. And first, let's start off by congratulating Joe on 500 motherfucking episodes.
You shouldn't congratulate it. Just sort of, just if you keep doing them, it gets to 500.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was great. That was like some, an old person, like, hey, 80 years. Like, well, you just stay alive, you'll get to 80.
That's kind of how it is.
Don't
I
congratulate
try not
me.
to make things grandiose.
Yeah.
I try to suppress any notions of grandiosity.
Grandiosity.
Anywhere
yeah.
it comes, just shut up.
Oh, it's
nothing.
bad.
It's true. And you let it start, it'll grow like a tumor. You know?
Especially a podcast. It's the goddamn easiest thing in the history of the universe. It's amazing that people listen to these fucking things.
I agree.
Yes.
And
But it's great. And
do you guys prepare? We were talking about commercials and shit. When you guys come to this, do you prepare? Do you have like a list of things like, oh, we could talk about that and
it
this?
depends entirely on who's on the podcast. Like last time Louis Theroux was on the podcast. That was the last time I did a solid 8 hours of preparation. I watched a ton of his documentaries.
Good on you, man. He's worth it. Did you see his LA Stories thing? The
No, I
3-part?
haven't. But
Oh, fuck, is that good television?
He's great. But I did it not just out of respect, but because once I started in the rabbit hole, it was really compelling. I mean, I knew of the guy's work. I knew of him, so I was super psyched to talk to him in the first place.
Yeah.
But I think part of the reason why he came on was because he keeps getting told by all these people to do the podcast, and he was like, "You've got like a little cult going on over there." And I'm like, oh.
And he's into cults.
Exactly. I'm
Yeah,
like, well,
exactly.
if it's going on,
Yeah.
I'm not running it. It's just it's on its own.
You're like
that
the
was
Buddha.
really
He's like the
disappointing.
Buddha, right?
It was disappointing to him. You know,
Right.
I think he wanted me to be a crazy, tattooed up
Cult leader.
jiu-jitsu cult leader guy. But I'm
Yeah.
like, not really interested.
When
Good
does
luck
it
with all
become a
that.
cult, Joe?
Becomes a cult when you start telling people what to do, when you like name it. That's when it becomes a cult. When it becomes a thing that someone has control over the other folks in it, and like if we ever start gatherings, that's when we got a real problem. Okay, I know we've thought about doing that, like
Yes.
one of those gathering the Juggalo type things. That's where shit gets ugly. We kind of already do at the Ice House. Those Ice Houses are
Yeah.
basically Juggalo gatherings.
That was fun. I went to a show there.
Yeah.
That was the best fucking night I've had in years, man.
Those crowds are amazing.
Both you guys were on. I don't remember
Yeah.
everyone else. There were like 5 dudes. Ari was there that night.
Yeah, we
was
do them on a
great.
regular basis with some of the best comics in the world.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. That club is that club is from the 1960s. It's the
Right.
oldest running comedy club in the country. In that sense, it makes it the oldest comedy club in the world because
Wow. Right.
America is where stand-up comedy started.
Right.
I know the Europeans listening to this don't like to deal with that, but you just
Is that
have
true?
to.
It
Just
started here?
face it.
Fuck yeah!
Face
You
it,
know who the
Frenchies.
original stand-up comedian was?
Aristotle.
Mark Twain. Mark Twain was the original American stand-up comedian.
Really?
Yeah.
Apparently, Mark Twain would
So-
go up and he'd do these speeches, and they were fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah. So what it was, there's an American tradition of public speaking. Emerson, Thoreau, those guys used
Yes.
to travel the country giving talks, and
Right.
so Twain just sort of went from that, slid right into making it funny. I quote Twain a lot in Sex at Dawn, a lot, probably
He's
more than
incredible.
anyone.
He's incredible, and you got to think that when Twain was doing this, I mean, this was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And he obviously played off of the backs of all the public speakers that came before him, just like we have from all the comedians that came before us. There's no like real original and incredibly unique mind. It's
Yeah.
a combination of all the other people
It's
that
just,
were there
but a very
before.
strong sense of
But
humor.
an incredible sense of humor
Yeah.
and insight into his own flaws and follies,
Yeah.
and I think that's part of what made him a great.
He was self-deprecating.
Yes, he was a comic. You know,
Yeah.
he was probably one of the originals, and he's one of the guys whose stuff, like if you read his writing, it still resonates. I mean, do you think about what he
Huckleberry
had as
Finn.
references?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the comedy. I mean, I taught literature for a very right?
Did you really? Where?
Yeah. Well, when I was an undergrad, when I was a senior, I taught younger undergrads. Wow. And I've, various places, various situations. But
You've lived a fucking crazy life.
Cool life.
well, Huckleberry, what I was going to say is that the big mistake that people make in literature and studying it is not getting the jokes, right?
Right,
And
right.
especially with the so-called great books. Moby Dick is a fucking hilarious novel. It is so full of like homophobic kind of freakiness.
Really?
The first scene in the book is he's lying in bed naked with a cannibal named Queequeg. That's like the first scene in Moby Dick, right? And then they're hugging each other because it's cold. And
Really?
then they're like on the ship a couple chapters later, and they're all whale hunters, right? So they're sperm whale, right? So, and what they do is they get all the sperm, which is this like mucusy shit out of the head of the sperm, out of the whale, and they have it in these barrels, and there are globules of it floating around. It's all fat, right? Because they used it for powering lighting in the 19th century,
Right.
before electricity. So the thing is, all these dudes are up to their elbows in the sperm barrel, squeezing sperm globules. And they like feel each other's hands in the sperm, and they start squeezing one another's hands, and then they're all holding hands. And then there's the chapter called the Cossack, where it's like all this sort of formal language, but you realize it's like a 2-page chapter, and you realize a page into it that what he's describing is like a guy who has skinned the penis of the whale, fleshed it out, and put armholes in. So it's like the cone of the whale's dick is on his head, and he's got his arms through the holes, and he's dancing around. And he calls him an archbishop prick.
Wow.
Whoa, that
has
is
got the
so weird.
Yeah, anyway. So that's the thing. In Huckleberry Finn, it's fucking hilarious, the
I
shit
need
in
to
that
read
book.
Moby Dick now. I want to stop this podcast right now.
I need to read it too, man.
It sounds crazy.
It's
I
great.
never would have imagined.
Yeah. So, Herman Melville was great that way, as was Mark Twain. So, okay, speaking of the wilderness,
Yes.
Duncan, you are back from the great beyond.
I got to tell you, man, when I was up there, I was thinking about Chris Ryan's idea that the civilization is ruining everything. As I was sitting up there staring out over the ocean and realizing that this is as good as it can get. Sitting there with my dog and just staring at the ocean. Just my dog sitting there. It's the best.
So undeniably beautiful. And not just that, there's something about nature's beauty, about like seeing something like a mountain or seeing trees or even flowers. It's humbling in some weird sort of a way. You know?
Well, I think it relaxes the psyche to see living things.
Yeah.
You know, I get that. I'm in Portland, right? And especially this time of year, you walk down the street, there's life everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything's in flower.
Green,
like different shades of green, all growing and thriving, and it's got that vibration in it. And then you go to a city where everything's dead, concrete, direct, square angles, right?
Yeah.
Like, it wearies me.
Yeah, what about the desert, though? That sucks a fat one, too.
The desert.
The
Some
desert-
desert's great.
Desert's beautiful.
Moab?
It's beautiful, but, it's cool structures in the desert.
Joshua
But just
Tree.
flat desert.
Like Death Valley, I
Yeah.
could do without. Yeah.
Death Valley's creepy, man.
I had a car. I was actually broken down in my surfer cousin's van in Death Valley on my way to Vegas to speak at a swingers
Oh,
conference.
my God. What a mistake. Mistake having a mistake.
It was the first. This is a funny story, actually. I'm working on my PhD on human sexual behavior in prehistory, right? And I'm writing the PhD, and like everyone who writes a PhD, it's such a fuck because you do all this work, and it's like 3 people are going to read this, right? Only because they have to. Your committee, and then it'll just disappear, right? So I'm writing this thing, and like everyone else, I've got this fantasy that somebody will actually give a shit about this thing I'm writing. I send it in. 2 months later, I get an email from somebody saying, Professor so-and-so sent me your dissertation. It's most interesting. We'd like to invite you to speak, all expenses paid, at a conference in Las Vegas in August. And it turned out I was going to be in L.A. anyway, so I said, yeah. So Cassie and I borrowed my cousin's van to drive out there. But the point is, it was the biggest swingers conference in the world.
Oh, my God.
Right? So that was my first public speaking experience.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
As a doctor, yeah.
That's hilarious.
It was like me talking about sex in prehistory with my PowerPoint presentation. The room next to me was like fisting demonstrations.
That's important.
Oh.
You got to learn how to do that.
They don't.
A lot of people do that wrong.
They don't
do it
teach
wrong.
kids how to fist anymore.
And you know what you got to do? You got to lay off the tennis balls. Don't squeeze anything. Don't make your hand any bigger than it has to be.
And you got to clip your nails.
Yeah, you should have one palsy fisting hand that you agree to never use for work. If you really want to be a
like
fister,
a veal in the basement.
You never pick things up with it.
Yeah.
Even if you lift weights, you put like a strap on your wrist to lift weights.
That's what they
bones
always
flexible.
had. They called him the Royal Fister, and he had a withered hand, a soft withered
He
hand.
slept at nighttime. He tied his arm to a barrel of oil, and he kept his hand in the oil, so it was constantly
like
soft
sort of a
and
big
moist.
condom. You
Yeah,
could
yeah.
just
Yeah.
He just would sleep like this. He actually suffered nerve damage because of that, because his elbow was in a weird place for a long time.
But he got all the scraps from under the table. He would go under the table with the dogs, and he would fist royalty as they ate.
You know, in China, they call this fist binding.
Fist binding. Yeah, you see it. It's sad, but it's really erotic when you see a grown man with a child's hand.
Yeah, well,
for fisting.
It's a commitment. It's a strong commitment.
It's almost like an athletic endeavor in a sort of negative sense.
Yeah, like a super ultra marathon for fisting.
You gotta love it.
There was a guy that I goofed on once on my blog that had grown the longest fingernails in the world.
Oh man!
And they were so long that he developed nerve damage in his arm, his permanent nerve damage.
How?
Because of his balance of his body's weight was off. Apparently, if your body's weight is imbalanced by a significant amount, or if you only use one side a significant amount, like the fingernails were so long and crazy that it rendered his movement of his fingers pretty much useless.
Why did he want fingernails that long?
To be in the record, just to be in the record book, like that was his thing. That made him special, and then he became like a Guinness Book of World Records guy from having the longest fingernails.
Did he clip them after he got the record?
I don't know, man. I don't know whatever happened to him. I never cared. He's so dumb. He grew his fingernails so long that his arm went numb. That guy's an idiot. I'm not paying attention to him.
It's time to move on.
I don't care what steps he takes next, unless they're unbelievably ridiculous.
What's his follow-up?
But they were curled. They were like,
they curl,
it was weird. They were huge, enormous, like tennis rackets. No bullshit. And curled. Some of them were long. They were really fat and thick and squiggly. It was so strange. He just agreed to use only one hand to grow the world's longest nails.
That's a weird guy, man. That's his big achievement, is just to not cut his nails.
Yeah, he's a mess.
He as a child, he really wanted to play guitar, but he just couldn't do it.
Took it too far.
So the only part he really got was the nails, right?
I had a buddy who's really good at classical guitar, and he used to grow his nails long. He grew like the three nails, the thumb, the forefinger, and the fuck you finger on his right hand. I guess that's the hand he strummed with.
Yeah.
And then he would reinforce them. He would like cover them in clear coat all the time. So he's always like clear coating like these nails, and they were thick. Like if he scratched you, you'd be fucked. Like if he could get you like a cat.
Yeah, isn't that why, Chris, you know this. Why didn't humans develop claws? Why do we have these crappy nails? They really aren't. Why didn't we evolve to have nice, jagged, killing claws?
Good question.
Because we masturbate too much as a species. That would have been negative.
Yeah, if we had the claws, we would just get way more rapey.
Constantly. And we'd also be scratching ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, damn, again.
What about retractable claws like a cat?
Oh, that's a good one.
Why didn't we get those?
Because you can't
you want a serious
move those to
answer?
articulate.
Yes.
I don't think anyone really knows, but it certainly seems like fingernails are vestigial claws, right? So they're like many other parts of the body that, 20, 40 million years ago were something, and now they're just fading out.
Like the appendix.
The appendix is probably one, yeah. The small toe, I mean, obviously that's not doing much,
Nipples.
Male nipples.
Male nipples.
Yeah.
It's so weird. If you're really paying attention to like primates at the zoo or watch primates in a documentary on them, it's so weird how similar they are to people in so many ways.
Oh,
it's so
man.
weird. Watch them pick things up and watch them look at each other, watch them screech at each other, get angry. Like you see the social
They
things
seem
playing
like
out.
they're like humans on 7,000 cups of coffee.
Chimpanzees are.
Yeah.
And bonobos are like humans with a hit of ecstasy.
And Viagra. And a total erasing of morals. Just fucking get that shit out of your head. Go fuck your kids.
No, they have morals. Bonobos don't. The son never fucks the mother, which is why motherfucker predates language.
That's amazing.
It's not only the earliest swear word. It was there before there were words.
It's probably the ultimate creeper is a guy who fucks his mom.
Oh, motherfucker. That's so funny.
But it can
this
also be awesome, though.
I never knew that when you call someone a motherfucker, you were saying you fuck your own mom. I never realized that.
Well, you don't always. Not anymore. It's morphed.
I thought
now
it's like you're
a
fucking a
motherfucker.
MILF.
Well, you could have that, too. But motherfucker...
that wouldn't be an insult, would it?
That's why I never understood why the thing was an insult.
But it's morphed so much that motherfucker's a positive now. It's more of a positive than it
Very
is...
positive.
It's more of a positive than it is a negative.
Very positive.
Hey, keeps life on the planet.
A bad motherfucker. I mean, I think the
like
word
shaft.
motherfucker. Yeah, well, calling someone a motherfucker as an insult, it's not that effective. Like, oh, that guy's a piece of shit. That guy's an asshole. That guy's a cunt. But that guy's a motherfucker.
Oh,
that doesn't make any sense. It's if I say, how funny is Joey Diaz? Dude, he's a motherfucker.
Yeah.
He's a motherfucker. That's a huge compliment. Like, motherfucker has become a compliment.
Yeah, but that's
what I'm trying to
because
say.
you guys are, streetwise hipsters.
We're about as
out in
streetwise
Nebraska.
and hipster as you get.
Let me tell you, in Nebraska, if you call a guy a motherfucker, I don't think he's going to like that.
He's
You're like, hey, I'm from L.A., it's a compliment.
He just needs a guy like me to move in his neighborhood and tell him what's up.
Come on,
the guy
there's
needs guidance.
Or
That's
a
how
guy
I
like
start
Duncan to move in the neighborhood and fuck everyone's mother, right?
Oh, Duncan, don't do
mothers,
that.
I guess when you have kids, you don't deserve to be fucked anymore.
By
He
the way-
makes a very good point.
By the way, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's
Happy
Day.
Mother's
Just
Day.
a week or so after Mother's Day.
Bobcat Goldthwait had the best tweet that we'd all be looking at sexuality very different if Freud's mom wasn't so hot.
That's good. That's good.
Fucking Bobcat. That's
Check
a
it out.
great joke.
But check it out. I don't know if he knows this, but here's what I can add to the comedy pantheon, right? Freud's father did, in fact, threaten to cut off his penis if little Sigmund didn't stop masturbating. And Freud wrote about his memories of that.
God.
Think about how much Freudian theory is based upon fucking fear of losing your penis.
Oh, my
right?
God.
That joke, Joe, you have about walking in on your daughter, I don't remember what it was
Which one?
that joke you have where you walked in and she was like, you told her to go to bed and she,
Oh, yeah. Don't reveal too much of it.
I forgot, I'm sorry.
There's a
Podcast.
microphone.
I forgot.
Well, you didn't say anything.
I didn't say anything.
No,
sorry.
it's okay. You didn't say
joke
anything.
spoiler.
No,
Sorry.
you didn't
No,
spoil
no.
it. You didn't say anything.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
caught
a
you.
premise. That's
Yeah,
okay.
if we were just talking, we would totally talk
That's a
about
great
that. But yeah.
But all right. So last time we were here, I was on my way to Austin.
Yeah.
First trip to Austin. And I went to this paleo conference there, and I met a bunch of guys, including Tucker Max, who told me, I mentioned that I knew you, and he told me, man, you apparently, I didn't know you had this reputation of being, well, it sounds like I'm blowing smoke up your ass, okay, but I'll give you shit later to no, what he said was like, he said, Joe's not only like really knowledgeable about jiu-jitsu, he's like world fucking class now, not 10 years ago. I didn't know you were. Do you compete at all now? Or?
No, that's not true. I'm not world class. Not even close. I'm a legit black belt.
Right.
But I'm not world class by any stretch of the imagination. Right. Whenever I roll with someone who's really good, I get destroyed. If I roll with like a guy like a Jake Shields, who is a real world class grappler. He's one of the that was quite a few years ago. Or my friend Eddie Bravo. I've never tapped him. I've never even got close. He crushes me. Every time.
Humbling experience.
It's just reality. He's way better at it than me. Yeah. My jiu-jitsu for a regular person, yeah, it's great for a regular person. But for a world-class jiu-jitsu person, you don't get anything out of anything in life that's difficult, whether it's stand-up comedy, whether it's jiu-jitsu, unless that is 100% of your dedication. You really have to focus on it.
Right.
I don't really focus that much on jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu is a very fun hobby for me. I love it. It's a lot of my philosophy of like interacting with people. A lot of it comes from jiu-jitsu because jiu-jitsu is so exposing. You really get to see what a person's like when you roll with them.
It
You
was
see
a bigger
their
part of your
character.
life before,
Well, it's
right?
still a big part of my life, but it's not the same part of my life it would be if I was competing.
Right.
And that's what a world-class guy
Right.
is. This is such a different level. There's black belts, and then there's black belts who treat black belts like white belts.
Right.
I'm unfortunately on the
Yeah,
small,
black belt.
short end of the stick.
Inflation. Black
Yeah, if
belt
a guy like Marcelo Garcia, who's physically weaker than me, smaller than me, and could kill me anytime he wants. If we rolled out, it wouldn't be a matter of if I tapped. It's like how many times could I stop him from tapping me? How many times would he tap me? I mean, would I be
Right. How
able to
badly
defend?
would it
Yeah,
use?
would I be able to defend for a minute, or would it take like 3 minutes for him to catch me?
Right.
And he's going to get me. It's just it's a matter of time.
It reminds me
I'm
when
not
I had
good
a
enough.
job in high school feeding the python in the biology class. And you've put these big rats in there.
Oh, yeah.
And like a rat in a big python cage is just, it's in that
fucked.
situation you're saying. It's
Well-
just, how long can I scamper about?
It's a terrifying place to be.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
And
To be in a
you,
cage with a giant python.
No, roll with a jiu-jitsu guy that can kill you with his hands.
Yeah.
Because he's a person. He's thinking.
Right.
The snakes and animals are terrifying because they can't think. And they think they have instincts, obviously, and they
Yeah,
have a
you
mind.
can't tap out with a python.
Yeah, there's no tapping out. They're going to keep going.
You know how they kill you, right?
they wait till
Yeah.
you breathe, and then they
Yeah.
constrict
So
deeper.
awful! Can you imagine having one of those things wrapped around you, a meat tornado that's just...
Meat tornado.
That's what it's like, this spiral of
It's
doom.
true.
Not only that, how about the fact that they will go after alligators?
Yeah.
They will eat a 12-foot alligator.
Have you guys seen a python strike?
No. I mean, I've seen videos. I've never
I've seen him
anything.
cut a body out of one of those things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No,
that's
but it's
real.
so cool. I mean, this python was 20 feet long, right? And the cage was probably 20 feet long. A big aquarium thing. You put this rat in there, and the rat's running around, and it's like stepping on the python because it's coiled around. and
Oh,
shit. And it's just like no movement. And the python, you can see it sort of move its head, and the tongue comes out, and it's sensing. And the rat's running around, blah blah blah. And then suddenly it just goes, and
my
it's a
God.
spring wrapped around the rat. And there's no like, oh, maybe I'll grab the rat or pull it over. No, it's just like the whole thing in one movement.
I saw in Big Sur a snake that had just caught a mouse, and or a lizard, and the lizard just sort of twitching in his mouth as it's dragging it back into a bush.
Oh, that's nasty.
Isn't that cool? Well, no, because it's nasty on one level. Then on another level, you're looking at a kind of like drain pipe of nature. You're seeing like one form of the universe getting sucked into another form of the universe.
That's right.
It's so
You're
weird.
right.
That's a python that
Wow.
got caught on an electrical fence.
Oh,
that.
Or some kind of fence. One was electrical, or it might just be a regular fence. It might just be hooked.
Yeah, it just like tried to bite something that's exactly the wrong size.
That's an exit door. You're
How
looking
crazy
at an
is that?
exit door into infinity. That's what that is. That's an exit. See, you're leaving the universe now. That's the last thing you see.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
like that. Would you call that
Yeah.
a pipeline of nature or something? Is that what you
It's a
said?
drain pipe of
Drain
nature.
pipe
You're
of
getting
nature.
one form of
Yeah.
life transformed into another.
Look at
Right.
the teeth on that
Moving.
thing. The teeth inside the teeth. What an evil-looking
So
fucking
Joe has
creation of
Googled,
nature.
for those of you who aren't in the room with us, Joe has Googled what python nastiness.
No, python stuck on fence. And you get this picture in the images of this enormous demon. I mean, a demon. If it didn't exist and you found out that, there was a movie, if there was no snakes like that,
Yes.
there was no such thing as a snake. But then there was a movie about a snake that eats people that are in a village, and it curls up around you and constricts your breathing and then swallows you whole. It can eat alligators as well.
Oh God!
What a terrifying movie that would be.
Terrifying.
And assholes, white trash assholes, release them into the Everglades
Yeah.
to the point where they're big enough to eat alligators. And then they went hunting for them. Here's the best. They put out this bounty. Go into the Everglades and hunt, and, every python you kill, will give you X amount of dollars. They didn't find any.
Really?
Good luck. Good luck. It's too big. It's too big. There could be 1 million out there, and you'd never find
And
them.
they're way up in trees anyway.
Well, no, they're in the ground mostly. I mean, they can be up in trees, but they're all over the place. They can do whatever the fuck they want. They can go in the water.
Yeah.
They live in the water. Like, they're attacking alligators. Like, the one that they found that was dead, he was in the water.
Could you, if there was a snake big enough, could you ride it like a horse?
A slow horse.
If you got a hold only of the front teeth, like, can he kill himself? If you could just ride his head right behind the jaws.
Yeah.
Just get a good gable grip underneath his chin.
Yeah.
And just ride. He wouldn't be able to choke you.
That would be an incredible
But that'd
thing.
be a ride, man. If he started thrashing around.
No, it's domesticated.
That makes riding a bull a whole...
Yeah,
domesticated.
Oh,
You'd have to break 'em.
domesticated.
You gotta break 'em.
break
You got to break him. You got to feed him giraffes and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give him.
break 'em.
Give him. as long as you feed them, they get really lazy.
Do you
when
wear
you feed 'em.
spurs when you ride a snake?
Yes. Well, it's
have
like
to. Snake
how
spurs.
your backpack.
You don't wear any clothes, but you do wear cowboy boots.
With spurs.
You know how your backpack has those latches, like chunk, 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 chunk. They just kind of go in.
Yeah.
That's what you would need. You would need boots with those on the bottom, and it would just be all about training your lizard, training your
almost
snake.
like ski binding.
Yeah. Exactly like that.
So you wear ski boots.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So what
Naked,
you're saying
ski
that you
boots.
take 2 snakes and you stand on top of them and you ride them like skis.
Oh, that's
but that's the best.
silly.
That's the best.
No one would do
Once
that.
you've already brought that up, now someone's going to do it because it's just one of those things. The first guy's going to get his hips ripped apart when he realizes that snakes don't want to be face to face near each other, so they break him like a fucking chicken wing, and he bleeds out from his cock.
You're the coolest. By the way, you are definitely the coolest person in the jungle. If you come by skiing on snakes.
Oh yeah,
with a whip. You got a whip too. You're like, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Can you imagine? Because it would, if you can figure out a way to domesticate snakes and make sure they're big enough that you can like wear them like skis.
Yeah.
Then now everything is like a snow.
Especially if they swim. Swimming snakes too. They're like amphibian. You were saying the pythons swim.
Yeah. Well,
Two swimming snakes.
You'd have to connect them in like those old school
Harness.
barbells that you saw like from the strongman eras, where there's a pole and these big round balls on the end of it.
Yes.
Those would have to be like dog collars for the snake. That would be the only way you could get 2 together.
Yep.
So you'd have to like set your harness, like a chariot sort of a thing in between the 2 of them, and then the snakes would be on one each side. And you would come over the hill.
Holy
Fucking, imagine that.
Game of
How come
Thrones,
this hasn't
man.
happened?
Imagine Genghis
those
Khan
dragons.
riding 2 fucking snakes into battle.
Or is it a whole army of people riding snakes? Forget it.
Yeah, they figured out how to ride pythons.
Just surrender immediately.
Could you imagine? Look, there's animals that, for whatever reason, decide to give in to our will. But there's animals that go, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know what animal goes, fuck you? Zebras.
Yeah, exactly. You
Zebras
cannot. I was
go,
thinking that.
fuck you.
You cannot tame a zebra.
Come on, we're going to ride you. We're going to raise you from the time you're little.
Yeah.
They'll bite your face, man.
Yeah.
They'll fuck you up. Zebras fight with each other. They like duke it out. They bite each other and kick each other and shit.
Man,
They're not
that's
horses, man.
So sad. It's so sad. It would be such a more interesting thing to see a cowboy riding in on a zebra.
Oh,
no
yeah.
one's ever done it.
What the weird thing is, you
don't think so,
could tame a lot of shit that you didn't think you could tame, like lions. People
Right.
like regular folks tame lions.
Did you see the video of the dude in South Africa who grew up with this?
Oh yeah,
getting
yeah,
hugged.
yeah.
Oh, he's out in the wild. He's not in some
Yeah.
fucking reserve. He's like, and
He
the
is
ones,
so
even the lions who
crazy.
he didn't know as cubs, but are in the same pride. Those lions are completely cool with him.
That's
So they've never
crazy.
been around people. You know,
Wow.
yeah, really interesting stuff. Interspecies communication is just so fucking cool.
Well, especially with predators.
Well, yeah.
Intense, these moments where a thing could just rip you to shreds anytime it wants, as it chooses to love you.
Right. Well, that's how I feel when I'm around you,
Oh,
Joe.
sweetie.
Come on, you feel it too, Duncan. Don't tell me you don't.
I do feel it.
If Joe got in a bad mood,
Oh.
I mean, it would be a shotgun.
Oh, I thought you
gotta have
meant
your
me.
shot-
I can rip you motherfuckers apart in a second, and I never would because I love you. Have you seen, speaking of deadly predators, have you seen the video of the dog that gets...
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that?
Oh, the cat saves
Yeah.
the
The
cat
kid?
saves the
I
kid.
saw the headline, but I clicked on it and it came up and said this video is private. I was
Weird.
like, wow, fuck that.
It's
Whatever.
really interesting,
Yeah.
man. But this is why I got so mad watching that video, because when you see a dog roaming like that, it means somebody didn't fence the dog right. You
Yeah.
know, so in the end, the dog, even though that is a shit dog, because you see it doesn't hesitate when it decides to rip that kid off.
so
it just
awful.
goes for him. But it's, man, dog owners, some dog owners in LA are so fucking bad at having a dog. They leave it in the yard all day long like a dog wants that. Dogs do not want that, number one. And if they do want it, you have to be really like giving them great food and attention, or at least have them out there with another dog. Look, I don't know.
Hand jobs.
Hand jobs. You have to be
You
making...
should totally give your dog hand jobs.
Yeah, that's what
It's
I'm
illegal.
saying.
They'll put
I'm
you in
sorry.
jail for that.
All I mean to say is...
Oh, really?
LA dog owners, if you're not jerking off your dog, then the
doing
dog's gonna
something
fight
wrong.
a kid.
It's bestiality, but I think if you're denying your dog sexual intercourse, look, it's all in our own head. That's bestiality. I have a buddy, same buddy with the nails, the classical guitars. He used to jerk his dog off with his foot. the dog would lie on its back, and he would put his foot in the dog's dick, and he didn't give a fuck about it. He would be like, yeah, man, he's fucking horny all the time. I jerk him off. He goes, I don't use my hands. I just put my foot on him. He goes, it only takes like a couple of seconds. He feels better, and I clean him up. I don't give a shit. It's my dog.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like a freak trying to act like it's totally normal. What's the big deal? I give my fucking dog a foot job
but
when
he's not
stressed out.
Dude,
I would agree with you if I
sex-
didn't know the dude, and he was just being he's a very smart guy.
Look,
He's just
the
being
dog
rational.
comes, I reach down, scoop up the cum, rub it into my lips when they're chapped. It helps. What's the big deal?
It's dry
totally
around
normal.
here.
It's not even that salty. A lot of people say it's like
it's not
I
so
store
bad.
up the cum. I do have gallons of it in my fridge, and I rub it into my eyes.
cum is one of the best proteins ever. It's way better than whey. And when you get back from the
Way
gym,
better than whey.
just
That's
take a little
fucking
dog
slogan.
cum. It's my dog. What the fuck? Who gives a shit? If you have chickens, do you eat their eggs? What do you give a shit if I eat my
By
dog's
the way,
cum?
that thing you just said, I wonder how many trainers have said that and seriously meant it.
I'm sure a lot of people have gotten really sexual with their dogs. That's probably a super common thing.
First sex I ever had was with a cat.
Okay, I don't know what to do with this.
You ask, please go on. What you do with that when someone says that? You're like, continue.
I didn't think there'd be a pause.
Continue, sir. and
And
you know
how
what?
did you
You know what?
manage?
I can now check something off my bucket list of leaving you two speechless.
You got it.
Saying something. That's why in normal life I would have like jumped in there and saved the moment. But
No.
I was
No.
appreciating the fact that neither of you knew what the fuck to say.
that was a
Yeah.
great silence that followed you
Yeah.
saying that. And I'm sure it wasn't the first silence that followed you saying that.
You know what? I have told this story publicly at a strange event in L.A. about 2 years ago. I did. You guys heard of Risk?
Risk?
It's a podcast of people telling stories
Yeah.
on stage, like The Moth. It's that kind of thing. They asked me to go to tell this scorpion story that they heard me tell on your podcast, Duncan. They asked me to tell that story publicly, right? And there was this event in Hollywood at that place where Harmon does his thing, the comics.
Meltdown.
Yeah. So they invited me to go there as a storytelling night. I get there, it's 4 fucking comedians and me. It's not a storytelling night. It's like open mic for comedians. I went on after Andy Dick.
Oh, wow.
So I was going to tell this scorpion story, and it's like, well, this isn't the place. People have been laughing, and it's like all this crazy shit, and then I'm going to come on and talk about when I thought I was dead in Guatemala. That's kind of a downer.
Yeah.
So I decide on the spur of the moment to tell this story about the first time I had sex, and it was with a cat. And it didn't go over real well. I mean, I'm on stage after 4 comedians. You're like, what the fuck? What are
What's
you doing
the
to me
story?
here?
What's the
So the story
story
is, okay, I'm 8 years old. It's the 70s, and my parents are going to a bridge party at their friend's place. And so there's no babysitter. They take me with them. And, yeah, it's like, Love American style, the Brady Bunch those days,
Yes.
if anyone's old enough to remember that shit. Anyway, so I'm like 8. They put me in the basement in the family room, and they say, keep the door closed because the cat's in heat. Right?
Oh,
I don't know what the fuck
shit.
that means. I think it means the cat's hot, so they've got the AC on, keep the door closed. I don't know. So I go down, I'm watching TV, and this fucking cat is just like all over the place, rubbing her ass on my leg and just like looking at me and just like, really, because somebody scratched my itch, And I look down, and there's this pencil on the table next to the sofa.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Unsharpened. And I take the pencil, and with the eraser down, I just hold it there, right? And this cat backs up on this eraser and starts fucking humping this eraser.
Oh, no.
Freaks me
Rips
out.
the inside of her apart with that
No.
little metal casing.
No. But you know what? Male cat penises have spines that come out on withdrawal that does rip up the inside of the female. Blood has to mix with cat semen to fertilize cats. That's why they scream like that
old
at night.
saying.
Blood has to mix with cat.
Yeah.
Tell me
I
cats
need that
aren't
bumper
demonic.
sticker.
Tell me they aren't demonic creatures.
Cats?
Blood needs to mix with cum
What's
in order to
demonic
make
about
them?
that?
That's incredible.
Cherry
Pretty
ice
intense,
cream.
Yeah.
But
Cherry ice cream.
the
Cherry
video we're
yogurt.
talking about, if people haven't seen, is a kid gets attacked by a dog and the cat saves him. The cat runs over and attacks the dog and saves the kid. And it's
Beautiful.
It's incredible.
I'm sure the cat had his own agenda.
No,
The cat was saving the kid. It was
Cat
pretty
just
clear.
didn't like that dog.
Maybe.
that kid had probably been fucking the cat. And he,
So anyway,
The cat was trying to protect his bitch.
Like in prison.
Not on my watch, motherfucker. Wow.
Pussy protection.
Did you, after you pleasured the cat, did you jerk off, or was there a mutual orgasm?
No, what happened was, so I pulled the pencil away because it was freaking me out. And then the cat turns around and looks at me like, yo, what are you doing? Come on. And like really like shocked and disappointed. And I was like, well, I don't know. So I put it back down again. The cat backs up on it and starts fucking this pencil again. And this time I hold on. And then she comes, and
Cats have orgasms?
Oh, yeah. And she, like, rolls over and looks at me, like, licking her face, and looks at me with love and gratitude. It's the first sexual experience I ever had.
And you didn't put your
I wasn't
put
like
your penis against the cat?
No.
I
I was 8 years old. I was experiencing it as an idea. I wasn't feeling it as a sexual thing, right? Yeah.
But when you were I could see you probably did that.
Oh, I fucked every cat in the neighborhood. Yeah.
Did you?
No. Come on. God, no, Duncan. Don't look at me like that.
Did you? He says, did you?
Now look, Chris.
Duncan's not going to trust me with Fox alone anymore, right?
I just think that, if you're a teenager and you're Chris Ryan and you're an adventurous, experimental person, and you are horny, and you think back, oh, wait, remember that time in the basement when if the cat will back up against a pencil, it'll definitely do that to my cock.
No, I wasn't real experimental with that shit. I had sex the first time with a person was with my babysitter when I was 11.
That happens to so many dudes.
How old was your babysitter?
Probably 16, 15, 16.
That happens to so many dudes. I've heard that story so many times. And it's so sad to me that now those girls are getting in trouble for the same thing. That was like one of the most magical experiences of your young life.
Was it a good experience?
It was. Again, it was like with the cat, not that I've ever equated these two before, but it was something I was experiencing more through my head than my body, right? Because I was still 11, yeah?
Right.
But the thing that's most memorable about it is feeling the weight of her body and her face, like right in front of my face.
Wow.
Because, like, whose weight had I ever felt on my body? My friends when we were wrestling,
Yeah.
But not someone twice my size.
Right.
So that was interesting, and that's a whole story, but I'm not going to tell that on this podcast.
Please don't. My dick's getting hard already.
I know. What do you mean you're not going to tell the story? Why would you? So you'll talk about putting an eraser in a cat's pussy, but you want...
It's too good, dog. It's too good.
Yeah, I'm saving.
Not for everybody.
I'm saving that one.
That's the fine one.
The cat's dead.
That's for the wedding.
See, here's the thing. The cat's long dead. She's still, the babysitter's still out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Got to protect a woman like that.
It could trace her down. They could find out who she is.
That's the thing. Yeah, I'm talking ages and shit. Yeah, no. I mean, nobody would track her down, but I don't want to.
My first
that was a private moment.
I understand.
My first sexual experience was with a 21-year-old woman when I was 13.
Oh,
she was a girl who lived on the corner. She lived up the street, and she was like, I don't want to shame her. She's a very nice person, but she was the girl that a lot of guys had sex with.
Yeah,
and she had a grown man. You call it a town slut, but she wasn't a slut. She was a nice person. I mean, it sounds crazy that I say I had a sexual encounter with a 21-year-old woman, and she was a nice person, and I was 13. But she was nice. She was nice to everybody.
It doesn't sound crazy to me, man.
No, it doesn't. I know it doesn't to you. But
culturally,
to a lot of people,
in America, it's sounding crazier and crazier, but that's because the culture's getting crazier and crazier.
But see, I was like totally confused. I had never had any experience with a girl at all before, so I never got an erection. I always panicked, and we only had like a couple of moments together where like she grabbed my dick over my pants, like we made out a little bit. I remember kissing her with the tongue. She was the first person ever kissed with tongue. I was like, this is crazy.
Wow.
Like, what's going on here? But she never like forced herself on me, like, because I was weird about it, because I didn't know what was even going on. All of a sudden, she's grabbed my dick. I'm like, hey, I guess I was like 12, somewhere around there, 12, 13. And so she was never mean to me about it. Like, she wanted to blow me or whatever, and it didn't happen. But she wasn't like, listen, I got you up in my fucking room. Take your pants off, bitch. There was nothing rapey about it at all. She would have consensually.
That sounds awesome.
But you know what I'm saying? She would have consensually had sex with me, and if she did, it would have been rape. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't rape at all.
Right.
I mean, should she have been doing that to 13-year-old kids? I was okay, you know. I got through it all right.
When I was a kid, I failed at getting molested. Like I didn't. It's something I think back at because there was a molestation attempt by one of my mom's friends.
And you
she
fucked
left
it
me.
up?
Yeah, because I remember I was sitting there and I was horny, and you know when testosterone first starts entering your bloodstream and puberty, when that starts happening, it is fucking intense, man. And
how old? What is the official puberty start?
Well, it's when you get secondary sexual characteristics like pubic hair, descended testicles, breasts if you're a woman, pubic hair if you're a woman.
So what is the year around? For most
it's
folks?
moving. That's the thing. It used to be, among hunter-gatherers, women didn't start ovulating until they were 17, 18, 19. Now in the U.S., it's like 10, 11, 9, 8. It's going down.
17, 18, 19. Yeah. Wow. Is that a nutrition thing? Or?
Yeah, it's largely to do with body fat content, which is also why, like, female athletes, marathon runners, they stop ovulating, right? Stop menstruating. Because once your body fat content gets below a certain level, then that process stops.
So the idea is when you're starving, you got work to do. You can't be fucking and having kids.
There's no food for kids.
Food.
Right.
Whoa,
right.
That's amazing.
Cool.
And people are so fucking fat and plump. They're just shitting out eggs.
Right.
Bink, bink, bink.
And
they're
now,
just like, shoot one in there. I'm not going anywhere. If I die, it'll be from fat. That's how non-famine like we are.
You think
we die from fat?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty mind-blowing. I bet if you went back in time and told people that, they wouldn't understand.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that eat themselves to death. They'd be like, what? Yeah, they have shows on TLC.
That woman who grew into the couch.
Yeah, she formed...
Jesus.
Well, we have friends that are obese. You know, comic friends that, you know, have had stomach staplings, eat right through them.
Yeah,
you know?
They pop them back open, right? Like
gotta go back in again, another surgery.
They pop their stomach staples.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you do that?
You eat like fucking...
And you eat even though your stomach is feeling tight. You're like, I can do one more swallow, another swallow.
They're obviously doing something with their food other than feeding like a hunger. There's like some sort of a psychological impulse.
Well, it's love. They want love. I read that in this.
So it is?
Yeah, in this. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's stupid.
Who doesn't?
But in this Osho book, I read this thing where he said that when people get really fat, what you're seeing is they're trying to scratch this itch, which is they want to be loved, but they don't have it in their lives, so they haven't figured out a way to reach out for it. So they eat food, and that creates that sense of this momentary feeling of connection or being filled up. The same thing you get when you're with someone that you really love.
Wow, that's
a low-grade version of it, but
something. Yeah.
Something.
I mean, I would argue that most, if not all, addictions are essentially exactly what you just described. A search for meaning, a yearning for community. A lot of people report that the thing that's hardest about giving up heroin, for example, isn't really the drug itself. It's the ritual and the sense of community with the people they used to get high with and the whole scene. They leave that. They're lonely. They're alone. They don't have those important things. The drug actually is often a tertiary issue.
That's a common thing among cigarette smokers, too. They see people gather together smoking cigarettes outside of a bar, and they would long to join them.
Right. And it's like after a drink, you have a cigarette. When you wake up, you have, like certain times of the day. And
I've seen guys say, can I just stand by you guys while you smoke and smell it?
Yep.
Have you said that yourself ever?
I had a guy in a men's room say that, standing next to me at the urinal. It was
about piss?
Can I stand here and smell your piss? You see, I used to be addicted to piss.
I was going to say, what does he want to smell? Your butt? What's going on, man? I don't understand.
So back to this whole
take a manly
child. I hear listeners saying, go back to talking about early sexual experiences. My babysitter was also like what you're describing that one. She was a nice person, and she was actually very subtle. Because one of the things I remember is she's sitting on the sofa, and I'm standing behind her, and I'm sort of like the TV's in front of her, right? So I'm like ostensibly watching TV, but I look down her shirt, and I can see her breasts. And she looks up at me, and she sees I've been looking at her breasts, right? And she says, my boyfriend touches them sometimes.
What went through your head?
He's like, this is like what happened with the cat.
Except she had 6 of them.
So
where are the other 4?
So she
nipples.
So she tells you that.
Yeah.
What goes on in your head at that moment when she says that?
At that moment, I thought, it was interesting because I thought, I want to. She's telling me I can.
Is she telling you can by saying that?
That's how I took it.
I would have taken it that way too, but
and
you don't want to be wrong.
And the third thought was, but I don't know why. I don't know why I want to.
Wow.
I do, but I don't know why.
You know, I saw something recently.
I've never figured it out, by the way.
You never will. You never will. She probably doesn't even know what the fuck happened. I saw something recently online. It was a photograph, and it was something to do with feminism, that no always means no, but yes sometimes doesn't mean yes.
That's good.
You got to bring a lawyer with you to every sexual event.
It was about
they need a new word. Then.
consent. It was about consent. Right,
because if she's really drunk and she says yes, that could still be considered rape because she was incapacitated on some level.
Which I think if, one person's sober and the other person's taking advantage of the sober person, no matter what's going on, if you're really taking advantage, I don't think you can take advantage of most guys, unless you're just some sort of monster. And you wait till guys get drunk and you're sober, and then you take advantage of them.
Or you drug them. I have two friends who have been drugged in bars by guys.
Oh, God.
Some guy they're with at the bar. This happened to two guys I know in Barcelona.
Jesus.
They're hanging out having a drink with this guy. Next thing they know, they're like buzzed, and the guy's like, hey, I got some tequila back at my place, whatever you want. And they go back to the place, wake up in the morning, and they've been ass fucked.
Oh, my God. Damn, motherfucker. And two guys?
Yeah, two different dudes.
Holy shit. That's scary as fuck, man.
Yeah, and the thing is, the drug they give him, GHB, is a strain. Have you guys done GHB?
I have.
It's a great
drug.
Great drug.
It's supposed to be one of those ones where you can take a little bit of it and you're okay, but if you take a certain amount...
Exactly.
One toke over the line.
And you're in a coma. But you're not dead. You're in a coma. And I've treated people in this condition, and they will not wake up. You slap face with cold water, they will not wake up. But as long as they're on their side and they can't, do a Jimi Hendrix, they'll be fine. In fact, not only will they be fine, they will wake up the next morning feeling so refreshed. More refreshed than you have felt since you were a 5-year-old child.
Weightlifters use this stuff.
It is incredible how it's, as a sleep enhancer and sleep inducer for people who have insomnia, it is without... And it's something that occurs naturally in the body, so it's metabolized completely cleanly.
Right.
There's no toxic effects. But as you say, if you take the wrong amount or you mix it with alcohol, you're fucking out.
It's the alcohol thing, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol potentiates it, or just dosage.
If you just take that one little bit extra. I have a friend who was probably addicted to GHB. He's drinking it all the time.
Really?
You know him.
Wow.
But he ended up drinking some GHB before he went out.
Oh, no.
Wakes up in the hospital. Yeah. He was way up on, Sunset Boulevard. They found him on La Brea, laying in front of a bench. And he has no idea how he got there, what happened to him in between.
Oh, my goodness.
But he just ended up in the hospital. You blink out.
Intubated.
What?
Normally, he'll be intubated, so he'll wake up in the morning feeling great in a hospital with a plastic tube down his throat.
You could die from that, man.
On a side note, did you guys know, I just found out about this, if you have a really bad hangover, you can go to the emergency room and get treated.
You get IVs. Yeah, they'll give you an IV.
Oh, they give you saline?
They rehydrate you. They probably give you some painkillers maybe, but it's because you have alcohol poisoning. So you go there and you say, I have alcohol poisoning, and they'll treat you, and if you have good insurance, it'll cover it.
Wow.
Thanks, Obamacare.
Your body they cover overdose?
Yeah.
Alcohol overdose?
Yeah.
They'll treat you for heroin overdose, right?
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. I wonder how many times they do it before hey, Duncan, stop coming in here fucked up. Stop.
We'll give you a home treatment kit.
At the end
Leave
of
us
the night,
alone.
Duncan gets fucked up. You guys going home? I feel like going to the hospital. You treat it like another kind of club.
Someone call. That's right.
After hours.
That's right.
My Uber driver takes me to the hospital before he takes me home.
Yeah, no, I don't want to chip in on the taxi. I'm going to call 911.
Yeah,
that would be an interesting start of a clinic, like a sober up club.
Yeah.
Like a place where you go and they dose you with IVs and.
Great idea. That's a good business idea.
Don't they have
a hangover spa?
Yeah.
So it's like a spa dedicated
Detox.
to people who have hangovers, and it's like a calming, soothing environment.
Yeah.
They help you work through like whatever thing you did that you're embarrassed about. Like there's a therapist you can sit and talk to about the dumb thing you said.
And there'll be a big sign over the door: "Do not come in here if you're still drunk. We are not responsible for sobering you up."
Yeah, exactly.
Or if they're smart, though, what they'd have is a waiting area, a sobering up area where the drunk people can hang out and wait to get in for treatment.
Man, that's a good idea for a business that you go to. You could even go to when you're still drunk, when you know you're going to have a hangover, and you go there and they put you in a nice room.
Yeah. Hey, you guys know that Warren Zevon song, Detox Mansion?
Detox Mansion, never heard it.
Oh,
no.
it's a great tune.
He was
it's
awesome.
a rockin', wild. Yeah, I've been raking leaves with Liza. Me and Liz clean up the yard. Here on Detox Mountain, we learn these things by heart. Yeah, oh, it's fucking great. It's super ironic in a Warren Zevon sense, you know.
Did you ever see his appearance on Letterman before he died, when he knew he was dying?
That Letterman... Oh, no. I was thinking of the comedian who Letterman didn't show it, and then his mother came on. Hicks.
Bill
Yeah,
Hicks.
Yeah, I saw that recently.
Warren Zevon came on while he was sick with cancer, and
Yeah.
he knew he wasn't going to make it. It was just really fascinating, man. Really fascinating to see him just sort of accepting this reality, this unchangeable reality of his imminent demise. And,
Yeah.
you know, Letterman loving the guy and having him on many times, and I guess they had a friendship together, and you see Letterman sitting there with the guy talking to him, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
It's fucking deep, man.
Yeah.
deep.
No, I don't think I saw that. But, you know, Warren Zevon in a lot of ways is like Mark Twain.
Yeah.
You know, his sense of humor is so prominent in so much of what he wrote. And within that sense of humor is a fearless intelligence, you know? And so facing your own demise, you know, what's more scary than that, right?
Yeah, for a lot of folks, that's the big one, especially when you're a smart person like Zevon obviously was, and it was all self-induced. It was all cigarettes.
Yeah.
Cigarettes were killing him. You know, and there's those people who are really intelligent that get involved in cigarettes. They all have that ultimate moment where they're like, what the fuck did I do to myself? How did I let this happen?
Yeah.
How did I let myself get roped into this dumb con game? Why am I giving up my health and my lungs for this fucking creepy drug?
You know, that story about the guy who inherits, I don't know whether this is apocryphal or this is actually historically true, but the guy inherits like $12 million when his parents die, an American dude, and he gets together with some friends to celebrate, and they fly to Monaco and rent a suite, and, you know, they're hanging, they're going to the casinos, and in like 3 weeks, he's pissed away the entire inheritance.
Oh, my God.
Right? You know, between casinos and hookers and shit. And in the interview, the question they asked him, like, how did this happen? And he says, well, gradually at first and suddenly at the end.
Oh, that's so crazy.
So I imagine that's what, you know, someone like Zevon's feeling, or whomever, someone who drinks themselves to death, or, you know, or if you ride a motorcycle, as I did for 7 years, that instant when it's like, whoa, that could be the end. The reason I quit riding was I had a call so fucking close, like you can't get closer than that, and Casilda was on my back, you know, and she had a daughter, and it's
Jesus,
like, you know, because I always was like, okay, I know this is risky, but I'm good, I'm careful, I feel it, and I'm willing to accept it because nobody gives a shit really if I die, you know. It hurts my parents terribly and some friends, but I don't have kids, I'm not leaving anybody, you know, and but with her on the back, and luckily it was really interesting because I won't get into the details, but essentially at night on a street, this car was trying to switch from one side parking to the other side of the street.
Oh, God.
And somehow didn't see me coming and just was like, whoa, straight across the street, right in front of me. You know?
My God.
So worst case scenario. And I had to do this swerve because there was like that parking space that he was going for. He was sort of nosing into that. And there were cars all up and down before. So I had to like swerve into the space and out of the space around his nose of his car, right? So it was like a double, whoa. And I was probably going 35 miles an hour.
With someone on your back.
With Cassie on my back. Wow. And to her credit, she melted into my back.
Wow.
Right? She was, in other words...
She didn't resist it.
Right. If she had resisted it, boom, we'd be dead for sure. because there's no way I could have done that if there was any like weird compensating.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, and I've always thought of that as an interesting metaphor. Like complete trust is safe in a way, more than partial trust, depending who you're dealing with.
Definitely when you're on the back of someone's riding a motorcycle trying to get away from an idiot.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. Why the fuck are we talking about that? I was thinking earlier when we were talking about the sexual stuff and how fucked up it is that older women, and I know this is going to come across as a little bit creepy, but what the hell, I'm already committed. Think about how many things in life we don't allow older people to teach younger people about.
Eating pussy is number one.
I think it's the first and last thing.
Nope.
Going, come on. That's how you wait.
Nope.
Over here.
Nina Hartley teaches people how.
Oh yeah, she does. Yeah. She teaches everything.
She'll teach whatever you want. Yeah, she's great. But anyway, so like if we taught kids how to drive the way we teach them about sex, here, kids, take the car out and figure it out. That's essentially what we do, right?
Yeah. We don't even give them that much. Some people don't say a word. Some people just let the kids figure it out on their own.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Strange.
But it's just like, kind of a primordial thing. It's weird thinking about the first time humans had sex. There must have been a first or whatever human precursors were. It's set up to be such an obvious and simple thing. It's like the least complex thing if you think about it, which is it just makes sense. You're going to eventually want warmth. You'll eventually be holding a woman, and the way your bodies line up will perfectly work. It's just going to happen.
And yet, there are countless examples of couples who've gone into doctors, like in the 19th and 20th century, saying, we're having trouble, the woman can't get pregnant, blah, 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 and the doctor investigates it all and finds out it's because he's not fucking her. It's because they don't know how to fuck.
Where is he putting his cock?
Like between her thighs or whatever. It's bizarre. Like people in the Western world not all of them, need to be. Yeah, look, it's in Masters and Johnson and Kinsey and all this shit.
That is crazy.
I know, it's bizarre.
It's
but
a different time.
The level of ignorance. Yeah, I mean, now we're saying like, okay, we just don't say anything, or a lot of parents don't say anything. But in the 19th century, they were saying shit, and all of it was negative, right? We talked about the Kellogg's cornflakes and all that shit.
What a great
right?
story that is. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, all this and sewing the foreskin together with a silver suture. That's what the leading child, rearing advice guy, Kellogg, he wrote the best-selling book, How to Raise Kids, sew their foreskin together without anesthesia. He specifically says without anesthesia, and that'll stop them from masturbating.
Amazing that fucking guy got into any position where he could tell people what to do and give advice.
And he bragged that he had never had sex with his wife, who he was married to for 40 years.
Wow.
Bragged about it and wrote that book I'm talking about on his honeymoon instead of fucking her. But every morning he had to have a full enema given to him by an attractive young male orderly.
Oh, my God.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Freud.
That is so hilarious. So he had some guy bang him every day. He called it an enema, right?
Yes.
Pissed in his ass.
Would never fuck his wife, ever, and bragged about it and was saying, we got to give kids cornflakes so they don't jerk off. And if they think about jerking off, you put a fucking silver thread through their dick.
Yeah.
Like your dick's a werewolf. You're going to kill it with silver.
Exactly. And if your daughter, I swear this is true, if your daughter is masturbating, you apply carbolic acid to her clitoris.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
That's what Kellogg said?
Yeah.
Don't ever buy cornflakes, folks. Just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares?
That's
the
like
world
the Marquis
we
de
come
Sade. The Marquis de Sade if he made cereal.
Did he ever do that to anyone? Did he ever put acid on any girl's clitoris?
He ran this thing. There's a movie about it, On the Road to Wellville. Remember that movie?
I never saw that. Was it worth watching?
It's about Kellogg. It's about his sanatorium and all that shit. Yeah, it's a great book. T. Currison Boyle.
Who rubbed the acid on their clits?
Clinicians.
Did he do it?
Clinicians did. And meanwhile, he did. I'm sure he did many cases.
It's time to apply the acid.
Yeah.
I'm in a bit of a hurry. I think I will be receiving my enema while I rub acid onto your clitoris today.
I'm not into sex at all. In fact, this beautiful man is going to clean my asshole.
Yeah. Are you guys circumcised?
I am.
Yeah.
You are? Yeah, all three of us are.
Yeah.
Hey, that could be a new name for the podcast. The Circumcised.
The 3 cut dudes.
I was with a woman.
Cut.
I met this woman in Spain shortly after arriving there, and she spoke English pretty well. I didn't speak much Spanish at all. And we had sex. The first time she saw me naked, she looked at me and she said, "Oh, I've never been with a circus-sized man before."
Circus-sized.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, but in Europe, in a lot of places in the world, it's not common anymore.
No.
Right?
You know why it's common here?
Well, any reason is not good, but I would love to hear it.
Fucking Kellogg, dude.
Really?
It's the anti-masturbation war in the late 90s, early 20th, late 19th century.
1890s.
War.
It was. The war on masturbation.
Who won?
Masturbation won. Masturbation
Always wins.
Well, let's look and see how much the internet is dedicated to porn.
It's another skirmish.
Tough to call victory, boys.
Yeah.
Tough to claim victory over masturbation when 38% of the world's traffic has to do with naked women.
So that's why American
porn.
men are
Circumcised?
circus-sized, because it was considered it would deaden the sensation on the head of the penis and discourage the man from boy from masturbating. So that's why, because as you said, in Europe, unless you're Muslim or Jewish, there's no religious significance to it. So it's just pure medical culture bullshit.
Well, you know what's really bullshit is all this nonsense that they keep talking about where it helps prevent AIDS. Okay, look, AIDS is not going to be prevented by you cutting the skin off a kid's dick. Okay, I'm just going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say that's not preventing any AIDS.
It's in a certain context. It's in some African societies. It's been found to prevent AIDS.
But why?
Because
have those actual results been truly studied objectively? Because it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, the way it makes sense to me is that you've got a microbiome all over your body, right? Of bacteria and shit. And where the foreskin comes over the head of the penis, it's dark, it's moist, it's warm. So that's an ideal place for inoculation of all sorts of stuff, right? So if you don't clean that regularly, then it can build up and become a really nasty place for viruses and bacteria to, accelerate the growth.
Yeah, I've heard that argument, and that's why it doesn't make any sense to me. It's because, do you really think that you could get AIDS from a person by having sex with them circumcised or uncircumcised, but you wouldn't get it if you are circumcised? The
idea is that
they're just not cleaning their dicks.
Well, and because they've got this low level infection of bacteria and shit that they're not cleaning around the head, the skin has lesions.
So it's broken open.
So you're right. So if it comes in contact with an AIDS virus, that goes directly to the bloodstream. And whereas a circumcised guy in that society, because it's all open to the air and cleaner, has a better skin barrier.
That's a bad moment when you pull out your AIDS cock and there's festering lesions all over it.
So the only way to get it is if your dick is beat up. It has to be beat up and you have to not wash it.
The only way to get it as a heterosexual man, right, having sex with a female or I guess a male, is it has to come from their bloodstream to your bloodstream.
So the woman or man has to be bleeding. Your dick has to be beat up.
Right.
And you have to be circumcised to incubate it all.
Uncircumcised.
Uncircumcised,
Yeah,
yes.
But you don't have to be uncircumcised.
No, you just have to have a beat-up dick.
Well, the amount of
That's
men...
why a toothy blowjob will really get you,
into trouble.
Ew, especially with an AIDS person. AIDS person giving you a toothy blowjob.
Well, what if you're giving a toothy blowjob to an AIDS?
We're going to offend our sponsors.
Both of them are bad. You're right. Both of them are bad. I wouldn't recommend either. But I wouldn't recommend banking on your fucking circumcision to get you through the AIDS gangbang.
I'm going to be just fine.
I'm going to be fine, bro. Look, cut. I'm in. The kid's fucking everybody.
Don't worry
and everybody's fucking the kid.
Hey, I just picked up a new sponsor, which I think is sponsoring
it's
this.
AIDS. AIDS is sponsoring this podcast.
No, but I want to tell you guys.
AIDS pencils. AIDS pencils.
Look, if I'd had a cat dildo, I'd have used it, all right?
That's what I'm saying. Story of my life.
No, seriously, Extreme Restraints. Have you guys ever been sponsored by them?
No. What is it?
They sponsored Dan Savage's podcast. They're sponsoring this one. They sell like harnesses and handcuffs and all this stuff to.
Hey, email me Extreme Restraints, please.
No, I'll put you in touch with them.
Don't worry about it, Duncan. They're on
cool.
you.
They're cool.
You just send out the bat signal. They will respond.
Well, that's why I mentioned it. I saw your ears perking up there, and
You guys have ball gags?
Yeah, it's bad. You know the problem with it though is if you do happen to have bondage gear at your house, and
just holding it for a friend,
or whatever, but like. The problem is, like, sometimes I'll forget where I put it. So, like, in the middle of, like, making out or, like, you have to go find this stuff, but you're, like, it just ruins the mood.
You have to turn on the lights, right? Like,
but where do you store it? Because, like, not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants to come in and see that stuff.
Just have the handcuffs, like, bolted into your bed.
Yeah, you can't. But that's the most obvious and convenient move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just throw a kerchief over the foot in head of the bed. And
Kerchief? That's creepier than handcuffs. A kerchief? Why the fuck do you have a kerchief?
Shut up and suck it. I'll tie you up, bitch, if I can find my cuffs.
What do you do to that kerchief, you weirdo?
Don't mention the kerchief.
I use it to cover my handcuffs.
The other thing that
Giddy up.
you could always say, being a comic, is that, I was doing this sketch. Me and DJ Doug Pound, we had this great sketch idea. And
you pull
it
out
involved,
the old comic
gonna work.
excuse, huh?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
was
I
a
was
joke,
ball
baby.
gagged and tied up. And
I just, I can't write jokes unless I'm handcuffed to my own bed.
Yeah.
someone has to smack me in the face with a dildo. With every 10th smack, a great idea comes.
All right. Anywho, Austin. I also floated in Austin.
Oh,
a
first time?
life-changing experience.
Yeah.
Zero Gravity Institute.
Yeah. Oh,
Shout
yeah,
out to
yeah.
them. They're great. What a place.
Yeah, that guy's a wizard. He's a
Yeah.
lot like Crash from the Float Lab. He's developing his own tanks.
I was real impressed with him. So after my
high-level
float,
stuff.
I hung out and recorded a podcast with him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
He seems. I would love to talk
He's
to
a
that
good
guy,
guy.
on a podcast. He's a really interesting guy.
Yeah.
He's.
I don't remember his name right now, but I'm going to see him in Spain next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
He's Aubrey's buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zero Gravity Institute. Check it out. I don't remember the guy's name, but we both love him.
Oh, that's so cool
Yeah.
that there's these places are popping up left and right now. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I was amazed that floating had sort of disappeared. Like nobody had talked about it for a long time. It just didn't make any sense to me.
Well,
It was
they all. What's the expression? Give you their props, pay you their
Yes,
props. I mean,
props.
everybody's like, "Hey, Joe's really Joe brought this business back."
But
I also floated at Float On in Portland. I bought a pack, a 16 float pack. There,
that's
that place?
awesome. I've never been there.
Cool.
It's the biggest float place in America.
How much does
apparently.
that
6
cost?
tanks.
Wow.
If you buy a pack, I mean, it was like $25 a float. In Austin, if you buy like a series of 16 or something, but I think it hovers around 50 a float or so.
Somebody needs to build float tanks on the east side because the only place to float now you have to drive all the way to Santa Monica.
Venice.
Burbank. There's a place in Burbank.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Soothing Solutions.
No shit.
Yeah, that's the
Oh.
first place I ever went to.
That sounds like a hand job place.
No, it's they do like I think they have massage too or something like that, or maybe colonics or something like that. I shouldn't be talking out of school. I don't know.
Zero
but I know they
Zero
have tanks
Gravity
there.
has these chairs that you sit in, and there's this like funky video going on, and you sit in this chair and you like fit into the chair. It's almost like that. What's that superhero X-Men or something like the thing?
Yeah.
And you sit in this chair, and it's all air pressure, so it's got like balloons all through it, and so it's going like. And all these things are squeezing your limbs and like pummeling your back. And
it's a massage chair.
But it's like the highest level massage chair
Yeah.
I've ever been in. Do you know the model I'm talking about?
I have one of those. Yeah, it's
That's
amazing.
great, huh?
It massages your hands. It massages
Yeah,
your
everything.
arms,
Your
feet,
toes. Yeah.
stretches you.
Wow.
It's
It lifts
fantastic.
your legs up. It lifts your legs up
Cool.
and stretches you out.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, this guy told me they were like $3,500, $5,000,
Something like
depending on
that.
the model. And
Yeah.
he said it's great. They haven't broken down. and
Seems
that's-
worth it.
It
Dude,
seems
it's
like,
so
on one
relaxing.
level, it's, like the song of the millionaire you were talking about one time. You were talking about having a float
yeah.
tank in your house. It seems like a pretty luxury item. But you think about how good it makes you feel. $3,500.
Still not as good as a person.
No.
People are way better because people find that, oh, Duncan, your neck is real stiff, and they work out the knots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they don't do it as hard. You'd think that those massage things would be really rough. They're not rough enough. They're not hard enough.
Well, they don't want to hurt anybody.
Lean into them.
They need
pussies.
to make a thing like, you should be able to go high, low, medium.
They worry about people getting hurt, probably.
Yeah.
People complaining, lawsuits. You know, like they bring it to a judge. Look
You should
how
be
hard
able
this
to.
thing is.
They should have. I bet they will have this too. Some kind of massage chair and some other thing that like looks like a body, where a professional masseuse can record a massage, and then you can download the massages of like the greatest masseuses in the world into your chair, and it'll duplicate it. I bet they're going to have that.
Yeah, it'll like measure your body and adapt to the movements to your size.
Yeah. Oh, shit. That's going to be crazy. Like remote massages. You have a chair that you sit in, and then a masseuse has some kind of body shape thing that like senses your body, conforms to it, and then you can get remote massages. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crazy shit happening right now, man. Things are getting wild with that stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Have you seen that the surface that forms into shapes? Like, have you seen that? You have to have seen that.
No, what is it?
It's this weird. It's like MIT put it out. It looks like, remember those pin things? You definitely saw that. Those pin things you put on your face and it would make the form of your face, right?
Yeah.
So it's exactly that, except it's bigger. And on one side, a person can sort of move their hands, and on the other side, the pin thing will take the shape of their hands. So you can like, you know what I mean? It forms, and the idea is like furniture is you're gonna have these platforms that are made of this stuff, and then you could download furniture shapes, and it'll conform to these shapes. So a house could theoretically, the floor could just be these flat pins, or just a flat surface with this stuff in it that you could then download walls, sofas, sculptures, whatever you want. It would conform to. You can look it up, man. It's psychedelic.
It sounds like the holodeck.
It's like the holodeck, but with matter.
What do you think you would call it if I'm Googling it?
Ah, shit, man.
Yeah.
I remember MIT did it. It was called
3D simulator or
3D
something?
furniture, 3D down. Ah, shit, man.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting thing that's sort of related to that. You know how the Manhattan skyline, if you look at it from the side, from New Jersey, it's like sort of like middling buildings until you get to Midtown. Then it goes way up around Rockefeller Center. And then it goes down till you get to Wall Street when it goes way back up again. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
It's like the double hump skyline of Manhattan. I always thought that was a financial thing. Like, whatever, money, a congregation of money and investment, whatever, that made them taller there. Turns out I was talking to a construction dude when I was working in Manhattan on this construction job, and he explained to me that is the bedrock of Manhattan Island. It comes up near the surface at Midtown, goes back down below a lot of dirt, 30, 40, 50 feet of dirt, runs down to Wall Street and comes back up near the surface again. So what that allows them to do is drill anchors for these really tall buildings into the bedrock, right? You can't drill through 50 feet of dirt and then hit rock and anchor a tall building. So what you see when you look at the skyline is like the pins that you're talking about that make the shape of your face. It's a reflection of the geology of the island.
That's badass.
Isn't that fucking cool?
That's wild.
As a metaphor, I love that.
Especially if they were all
Super
uniform
cool.
height. The buildings were all like they had to be 12 feet. Whatever.
Oh,
it is,
right. If it
tall,
were an
then
exact correlate,
you could really see the ground.
Yeah.
Well, it's so fascinating to imagine like how limited we are in expressing ourselves with design, because you have to buy furniture and you have to build furniture. So when you come to someone's house, they're always kind of limited in the way that it looks. But man, imagine coming to someone's downloaded house where they've decided like, oh no, you go through that tunnel to get to the kitchen. It's
you go
like
to Mordor.
Yeah, you could, who knows? Or what gets really weird is like the hotel rooms, because the idea will be like the hotel room of the future. You walk in and it already knows what kind of design you like. So, as you're coming in, it just forms around you to sort of
right.
to
It
mimic.
senses it from your phone. There's like an identity thing in your phone. This is what I dig. Golden colors, lots of velvet.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just, your environment follows you through the world.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, through any kind of interior space, it's just sort of conforming, especially when you get into the whole, like, the new cyborg arm that they have where you're controlling it with your thoughts, and this new way of controlling
that
things.
exists, right?
So now you sit in some room and you just imagine shapes that form out of the ground. You just sit there and think about different shapes that you'd like to build in that space.
And it's going to be probably just like images that you can download from online. You could probably download the ideas for future. Like you could say, I'm going to download the inside of Smaug's gold chamber.
Yeah.
And you can put that all over your walls.
Reminds me of these Japanese sex hotels. You know about these? Because in Japan, nobody has privacy, so there are sex motels everywhere. You go in, rent them by an hour, and it's all set up so that there are curtains that fall over your car the minute you pull through. No one can see your license. You don't even have to talk to a person. You go in, there's a machine, you run your car, do all this stuff. So there's zero, human interaction.
Right.
Anyway, they've got theme rooms. So one room will be like a Stone Age cave, and there will be things burning, and another one will be the back seat of a '57 Chevy, that whole thing, typical Japanese over the fucking top stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and there'll be outfits for you. You can put on your Fred Flintstone skins, or do whatever 50s bullshit. Anyway, why am I talking about that?
Because you're saying
the
with this new
holodeck,
technology.
the different downloads. Yeah, it's like a downloaded space.
Yeah, the idea that you could just alter your home like that. Well, I think pretty much what we're doing today, where we go and we buy things, we have them delivered online. That's so novel. You go on Amazon.com, you can one-click a new pair of sneakers, and then boom, you have it. I think that idea is going to be so quaint to us in the future. Do you remember when they used to buy things?
Yeah.
Because what you're going to do in the future is just 3D print everything. I mean, that is inevitable. I think that the idea of buying things in a store is going to be out the window.
Isn't 3D printing limited, though, in the sense that it can only make shit out of that plastic?
No, it's limited in the sense that it depends on what kind of materials you have in the printer. Just like you have printer ink, you would have materials.
But can you print leather or
No, you
steel
can't print anything organic, but you can definitely print metal.
Really?
Yeah, you'd have to have
you don't need, like, super high temperatures?
You would need very high temperatures. You never need a very sophisticated form of a 3D printer.
Right.
But it could still be done, just like people can home weld. You can do a lot of things at home. There's a lot of people that pack their own bullets in their basement.
Yep.
Yeah, you could buy welding products.
We met that guy at the firing range. Remember the dude you were talking to about making his own bullets?
This guy made his own gun. That gun he made.
Yeah,
he made that gun.
Mail order shit. Yeah.
He bought all the parts, put it together, and he was shooting, ding, 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 hitting the target with it.
This is the idea that everything is data, and that any kind of form is actually just a kind of universal computer code that has come out of this biocomputer that's planet Earth. So the idea is the more sophisticated a machine, and if you had something that could operate at the quantum level and somehow disassemble things at the atomic structure and then rearrange the atoms. This is all wildly in the future, but if you this is what Kurzweil is talking about, the idea that every structure is just a code that could be disassembled and reassembled according to the will of the person, around it.
Yeah.
So,
but how does your spirituality fit into that ultra hyper materialist vision? Where's the spirit in that arrangement of molecules?
it fits in perfectly with Buddhism, which is that everything is in flux and changing. So it's just an acceleration of that change.
But isn't part of that understanding of Buddhism that everything is in a state of change and we cannot control that state of change? So if Kurzweil's talking about controlling it, shaping things,
they're not saying you
them,
can't control the change. They're saying that you eventually eventually you're going to die. They don't say I've never heard the Buddhist idea that you can't control it. Like, I think they would say, that clearly you can control it.
No, that you can't control the fact that things are changing, which is why you shouldn't.
You can control the way they change. You can control the way they change.
Well, you can control your interaction with them.
Right.
But there's certain things, like if you were born right now and not in the middle of Nazi Germany, there's very little you could do to alter your reality.
Right.
But you can alter the way you interface with your reality.
Right.
That's what you have. But there are certain moments in life, unless you believe completely that human beings are creating the reality on a regular basis using their imagination, and that this reality right now that you're experiencing is not real at all anyway. It's just some sort of a simulation. Which is not unarguable.
Yeah, it's hard to disprove that.
It's not that it's hard to disprove. If you extrapolate from what we're doing right now as to what we will be doing, it seems pretty inevitable that is one day going to be an option. And if that's going to be an option, the idea that it's happening right now that we forgot or that we're not aware because we're in the middle of it, and when we wake up out of it, we'll go, oh, so
because
silly.
You would choose levels that you would go when you went into the simulation. You could be able to choose levels of awareness. And how aware are you that you're in a simulation? And the badasses are the ones who are like, no awareness, I'm in the simulation this time. I want to see what it's like if I don't remember this life at all.
Right.
And those are the people who are like that's like badass, high level, that's like extreme kayaking, whereas like there's
commitment.
Real deep commitment. You're like, I'm going to plunge into the simulation with zero realization. Actually, give me a couple. You know what? Why don't you give me a couple? Make it so that there's some kind of like, I don't know, make it like my initials, DMT. Something like that. Just make a substance there that anytime I come in contact with it, I'll actually remember what I am. But that's the only clue I want.
Is your middle initial really M?
No, I'm just saying whoever's running, hit that DMT, whatever. So when you do that, you're like, oh, fuck, everything's fine. It's just shit, I'm back in the goddamn thing again. But here, man, let me tell you my new theory. Have I told you my theory about how selfies are the precursor to a time machine? Have I told you that?
No.
So this is really interesting, man. I've been thinking about it. I'm actually attempting to write an article about this for Vice. But the
Oh, yeah, you and I talked about this.
Yes, I was trying to get info from you for
right.
The idea is, so you could take VR right now. You can take VR goggles and go into Google Street View and look around from a 3D perspective. Like, it'll interpolate that stuff into a way where you can just look around at Google Street View. That's now. But I was thinking, well, obviously in like 10 years, a computer is going to be able to scan the environment and see that there is a tree here, and know kind of the behavior of a tree in the wind, So all of a sudden it can scan the environment and locate trees. Okay, let's make these trees sort of like move as though they're in the wind. And then a dog. You might see an image of a dog. Oh, I know what a dog acts like. Assign a kind of generic AI to the dog, separate it from its background. Now the dog is running around in 3D space. And so it goes from being now where you put the VR goggles on, look around Google Street View, kind of a shitty, just like when you're in Google Street View now. It's like kind of animates moving from one view to the next with that blur, but it's shit. But you could do the exact same thing 5 years from now. I'm sure you'll be able to put on VR goggles and look around and be in the street, looking up and down and looking around. And then the next step is take all the elements of the scene, animate them with artificial intelligence, and now you're not just standing in a static three-dimensional view, street view. Now you're actually in the fucking neighborhood looking around. And then the next step is, this is where it gets really weird, people who are in Google Street View. With facial recognition, you take their face, scan through all of their social data that's in the cloud, all their tweets, all their Facebook posts, anything that they've put on that's accessible by this theoretical computer, and you could assemble an artificial intelligence that would mimic their personality. And so you assign still images of people with an artificial intelligence based on their social fingerprint, right? So what that means is, 100 years from now, you're going to be able to put in GPS coordinates, temporal coordinates, like where you knew your parents were. Go to that baseball game or whatever, and you'll be able to have some kind of rudimentary conversation with an animated avatar of your parents based on their social thumbprint. That's going to happen, man. So that's the idea, is every time you're taking a selfie, uploading it to the cloud, you're filling in a tiny little piece of this digital time machine. It's wild because what we're doing with our phones is literally digitizing everything. We're sucking reality in, converting it to data, and then storing it in these massive, or to us they don't seem massive, but these incredible storage units called hard drives. It's like these granaries or something for a time, and in the future that shit's going to get taken out and interpolated
and refined
and recreated.
Yeah.
So that's
an interesting idea, man.
You know what, I've come up with this idea. I've toyed around with this, and it sounds completely insane with the computing power that exists today. But I think in the future, what they're going to be able to do is, based on what we know so far, like based on an accurate account of all the people and all the positions, what people weigh, what cars are shaped in what manner and where they are, you're going to be able to, based on the data after a certain period of being collected, you're going to be able to go back in time in a recreation and be able to map out every single rock that moved in every single direction, every single car that ran over every single road, and that all of it, if your computer processing power is significant enough and the idea of capturing reality is accurate enough that they could possibly extrapolate back into the past.
That's a time machine.
Right. That's a time machine. I mean, you would be able to
Right.
recreate events based on the data that you know that is currently, like this yellow pad that's on this desk did not get here on its own. The words that are written on it did not get there on their own. And if your process was complex enough and accurate enough based on everything that you got an account of on the Earth so far in the positions that it's at, you could, with a significant amount of data, go back in time and extrapolate how everything got everything.
That's it, man. We are in the merging between prehistory and history. Like we are. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Where we are right now, and is in this liminal phase in between. Like we are like we're going to be the low res humans. When you travel back in time, we're going to be like the low res people. In the same way we've got like black and white photographs, we're going to be the avatars you go to, and we just aren't quite right.
Not all there.
They were important in the transition
We
between
didn't get enough information
the
while they were
biological.
alive. Yeah.
Let's go back and have a conversation with Joe Rogan about this.
Yeah.
And then they're going to simulate it, go back in time, and some avatar of you will be like, I was one of the...
It better be really good. It'll be
They
really
won't.
good.
That's the problem. You're too old.
I think
I don't know about that. I think they'll
think
be
it'll
able
get
to.
better.
Yeah,
well,
they'll
they
be able
don't
to
have you as a
recreate
kid,
everything.
that's for sure. I mean, they're not getting,
They
20
might be
years
able
ago.
to look at you though and go back in time. You know how they've done that with
they'll
programs.
do like the face aging simulators.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah,
they've done that with
yeah.
programs where they age kids to see, like, if somebody finds a kid that's been abducted and
Yeah.
they show you what they would look like 7 years later. They run it through some sort of a computer
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
It's fairly accurate,
But
apparently.
it's like, if you think about all this shit, and then you imagine, all right, well, then every human life, as it eventually becomes more and more recorded, will become a form of riverbed that people from the future will be able to send their consciousness down and re-experience all these lives that have happened, right?
Ooh.
Which means that this thing that you think you are and this thing that I think I am is in fact just a river of consciousness flowing through a pre-existing bed, a thing that always kind of works out this way again and again and again, and is like the attention of some futuristic being is, beamed into it and lives that life again and again and again, and that's deja vu.
And this is Nietzsche's theory of, eternal lives, right?
Eternal
Or
lives,
infinite
yeah.
lives.
Infinite lives. So
Yeah.
this thing you're in it's just like an apartment. You're in a rental unit right now. You think it's you, Joe Rogan, but in fact, you're just existing in this kind of life that so many other consciousnesses have inhabited. You're just getting to experience it.
So do each of those consciousnesses live the same life, or they just have the same identity? In other words, are they all married to Joe's wife with Joe's kids and Joe's
don't
job
know.
and all that? Or are they just Joe's essence
I think
making different decisions?
I don't know. I bet it's. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. Based on this theory, it's like part of me thinks no. I think it's the exact same thing happens on repeat.
Well, I think that's Nietzsche's idea, that you really don't have any choice because your life is going to be what it was and what it always will be.
Well,
How convenient. Cokehead. Crazy cokehead talking shit.
Well, no, you can. You can. I think the choice is you can stop resisting and surrender to what's happening around you, and it's because when you get high enough, you aren't you anymore. You're a field of consciousness, and that's
Yeah.
a weird way to put it.
Floating. I felt that floating in a way I hadn't in a long time.
Floating's
actually.
changed my personality, for sure. Without a doubt.
because it relaxes it, it rests it, it turns it off. Because I was in a state where I would wake up and realize that I hadn't been sleeping. Right? I was in a place that wasn't sleep, but it wasn't awake.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been there in a long time. Till
You're
I
thinking
did that.
about a lot of different shit, things troubling you. Is that kind of...
Well, no, I mean, like, you start that way, like any meditation, your mind's busy, but you keep sort of, focusing it and letting that shit drift away. And then it's just darkness and emptiness and silence and relaxation. I would wake up because I stopped breathing.
Wow.
I would, like, just, it was so quiet that I just stopped breathing and didn't notice until I got that sort of oxygen panic, you know, and then that would bring me to consciousness. Which
did it
also
more-
happened to me when I took heroin, by the way.
Whoa.
When'd you take heroin?
When he fucked his cat. Like, I can't handle this shit.
Yeah,
Bam!
freaked me up. Had the
It
cat.
spiked it.
His cat started giving him heroin in exchange for sex.
I've had the cat. Might as well have the horse, right?
But what was that? Did you inject or snort?
I smoked it.
How was it? Was it pretty? I've never done heroin. I'll never do it.
Oh, it was an interesting experience. And I remember exactly. I can tell you to the day that it happened because I was in Chiang Mai, Thailand, which is in the Golden Triangle where 80% of the heroin in the world comes from.
Also, where Sure Design T-shirts come from.
Thank you very much. I'm wearing one right now.
The softest shirts known to man.
You want to riff? You want to do a little
No.
riff? I just got a massive. My mother is dealing with like thousands of T-shirts right now. They're all over the house, all, labeled everything. She runs
That's
the
so
T-shirt
cool.
thing.
Your mom does that.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
This is your shirt, Paleo Modern.
These just came in. Yeah, I gave you guys both a Paleo Modern, and the other is the Civilized to Death shirt, which I was saying earlier is like, who else publishes or prints a T-shirt promoting a book they haven't started writing yet?
It's a way to do it, man.
I think
Definitely.
Better
Yeah.
than Kickstarter. Give somebody something.
Kickstarter.
Give somebody something concrete. They love the idea. They want to support it.
Well, yeah, and also, who was it? I can't remember who did it. On some motivational tape I was listening to, they were talking about an author who, before he writes a book, he actually prints a cover of the book with the what it looks like and with the written by and the whole thing. He has the book in front of him, so as he's writing, he can look over at this book and it already kind of exists. He's already sort of brought it out of the nothingness into
This is
something.
another time machine thing. He's going into the future, right? He sees the book
Yes,
already
and he's
existing,
linking.
and he's bringing it in.
And
yeah.
this is like what symbol magic is, or sigil
Yeah,
magic is,
yeah.
that you're sort of like, instead of just imagining a thing, you bring it into the earth in a kind of rudimentary form, a little wisp of the thing, whatever it is. I think that shit works, man. I think it is a great way to start pulling the energy in.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we're doing with so many things, with tarot cards, with the I Ching, reading entrails, all that kind of divination is about looking at patterns and finding meaning in them, right?
Yeah, like the reflection of your own meaning through the patterns.
Right. It's a way of connecting to the subconscious, which understands things that the conscious mind doesn't.
You guys want to pull a tarot card?
Okay.
All right, what's the question? Anyone have a question? We'll pull a tarot card for
You have an app for tarot?
I have a really...
It goes to show you it really works. I don't think you can have an app for tarot cards.
Sure
I
you
think
can.
I'm going to refuse to do it because I found out it's an app.
So you're a virtual...
No.
I thought you were
that-
going to pull out an old dusky
Shit.
fucking book of
Are
cards you got
kidding?
from Marilyn Manson.
Listen, no way.
Blow the
Okay,
dust
here's
off
a
them.
weird thing that's happened to me, okay, talking about this stuff. I've thrown the I Ching 3 times in my life. Right, 3 pivotal moments in my life. I had the book. Carl Jung wrote the introduction. Great Swiss psychiatrist, and I was traveling with it. And 3 times in my life and it was important shit, like take this job or go back to Asia or be with this woman or move out or big shit. Through it, the first time you use coins. You can use different stocks and yarrow stocks and coins and stuff. So I did the coin way. I read the instructions at the beginning, and I don't remember the number, but you know how it works? There are like a whole bunch of these little chapters. I don't know, 150 or something. And I got one that was Fire on the Mountain. And it says some weird
Grateful
thing.
Dead song.
There's fire on the mountain, but the lakes run down the side and blah, 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 whatever. And that sort of made me feel like I got it. I understood what it was telling me to do, right? So then 5 years later, I do it again, another big moment, throw it again. I get the same thing. Fire on the mountain again. What the fuck? What are the chances of that? Really strange. So I do this whole thing, and then 5 years later, I do it again. Fire on the mountain again.
Oh, we got to do my I Ching app.
So wait
right
a minute. Now I'm thinking I'm doing it wrong. I don't really know how to do the things because nobody showed me. I just read the instructions. I think I might have done it wrong, which means my entire life is a huge mistake.
I would say no. the problem with those things
I'm not
is
serious,
people
Joe.
will say,
I'm not
I know
serious.
you're not. But the problem with those things, even though you're not serious, is that people will say, and I read the tarot card, and the tarot card told me to go ahead and start the business. And if the tarot card didn't tell me that, I wouldn't have done it, and that's why I became successful.
Right.
No, you just decided to start your fucking business, and you blame the tarot cards on it because it worked out. Now you're convincing everybody else, or some mysticism involved.
Well,
But
there
it
isn't
could
any
have been just as-
mysticism, but it's a projection of yourself. That's
Right.
what it is.
Of your own subconscious.
Could have been just as easy the other way. It's you make choices, you live your life, and then you justify those choices based on the success of your life.
Sure.
But your success is based on you figuring your surroundings out. You'd figure surroundings out if you went left or if you went right. And the idea that you can only find success by one road is so self-limiting and stupid that you shouldn't entertain those thoughts in the first place.
Right. It's like people saying like they found their soulmate.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be anti-romantic, but you got a lot of soulmates out there,
Listen,
brother.
there's a lot of chicks out there that are super cool.
Yeah, exactly. If you find one, like, just shut up about it.
I mean, look, it's nice if you're happy, but let's be
Yeah.
honest. There's a lot of chicks out there that are super cool.
Soulmates.
Yeah.
Just like this, like the idea that a
Fucking
woman would find the perfect guy. I don't know about that. I think there's a lot of. She's probably like some other dick. There's probably a lot of cool guys out there, man. You know, the idea that you're the only cool guy that
That
your
you're
woman
the
is ever going
coolest
to meet.
guy.
You're the
that
coolest, the
she'll
only
ever
one.
encounter. You're the Elvis of all humanity.
Hey,
Yeah.
speaking of dicks, I got a new nickname
Whoa, he
for
just
mine.
lifted his leg up when he said that.
What's your nickname?
Girth Brooks.
Does it have friends in low places?
Those are the best friends. Yeah.
Name for my
Duncan, I feel like I interrupted you. Oh, you were going to do something with the
tarot
the
card. It's
Joe
not
got
a real
scared.
tarot card.
Oh, Joe,
It's not
okay.
real.
Well,
Joe's
we don't,
superstitious.
You want to break out some cards?
we don't
we'll
want
play
to
some cards.
invite evil into the room.
It's not evil. Let's do a drawing right now.
By the way, can I make a public service announcement? Do you guys know about growers versus showers, since we already talked about circumcision?
dicks?
Yeah.
Is that real?
Oh, yeah, it's real. Fuck yeah.
what
Oh,
is
yeah?
that?
It's that human beings, there are two sort of dick physiologies. One is that the non-erect penis just hangs down, and then when it gets erect, it fills up and is erect, right? The other is that when the penis is not erect, it retreats into the body, so it's smaller, right? So one just changes size up, down. I mean, just changes position up, down, and the other grows and retracts. And a lot of young guys don't know this. So they think they have small dicks, or they think the other guy's got a small dick because they've never seen it erect. And they don't understand when that guy gets a hard on, it's as big as his dick. And a lot of kids in high schools and young kids don't know this shit. And it's important for them to know it. So there it is. Throw it out
That's
there.
very nice of you.
Yeah.
Interesting. So some guys, their dick's the same size if it's soft or hard.
Yeah.
Bastards.
Particularly,
It's like an accordion.
particularly among black guys, I must say.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you an expert in black dicks?
My wife is.
It's like I fed you that. It's like we're on a sitcom.
I never told you guys the story?
Yeah, no, you did.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, then you did feed it to me.
Yeah. Well, a sitcom. On
Well,
the
I'm glad I hit it back, man. If I hadn't done that, you'd have been like, dude, I threw you that. I loved you that thing about your wife and the black dicks.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. Well, for people who don't know the story, she worked for the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
I don't want them to get the wrong
Yeah,
idea,
right.
you know. And one of the things, she was studying sexual behavior in Africa in the early days of the AIDS crisis, actually. And one of the things she had to do, I didn't know about this. I was with this friend and her, and he was giving me shit by way of her. And he said, like, oh, Chrisilda, you're so innocent. You were married. You probably think Chris has a big dick. And she goes, no, I've seen 1,000, African penises. And I was like, what? You what? He goes, you what? And then we've been together like 3 years or something. I was like, you what? And I was like, yeah, the World Health Organization thing. I had to inspect 1,000 penises for that study I did. I was like, honey, you didn't tell me about this.
1,000 dicks
A penis inspector.
In Africa.
with a jeweler's glass.
In the Africa, you don't need a
Did she
jeweler's
wear-
glass in
did she
Africa,
wear-
brother.
You gotta look at
You're
all. You
thinking
gotta
of
check the
Ireland.
whole thing. Is Ireland known for little dicks?
Yeah, that's
Really?
what George Carlin said. You remember?
Oh, really?
There was some line about drunken. There was a bit he did about like the Fighting Irish. Like, what the fuck? Why can we say the Fighting Irish? We don't have a college called the Chiseling Jews or the Lazy Mexicans, right? And he's like, I mean, what the hell? The drunk, what was it? The slow, drunk, short-dicked Irishman take the field or something. Anyway, Nothing worse than paraphrasing George Carlin.
It's still funny, even paraphrasing.
Did you throw a card there, Witch Doctor?
I didn't throw a card.
No, all right.
Don't do it. It's not a card.
Joe's
All right.
afraid.
It's a goddamn app.
You're
It's written by
superstitious.
witchcraft.
You're scared.
All right,
They
so-
made that app with wizard money.
Now let's get serious for a second
Oh,
here,
Christ.
because you guys are scholars of this stuff, and I'm very interested.
I'm going to say right now, whatever it is.
No, seriously, Rick Simpson Oil. Have you talked about this on your podcast? Have you
No.
had any of these people on?
I have not. I've seen a lot of things online, but quite honestly, I haven't looked into the evidence enough to know how much of it is malarkey, how much of it is real. I do know that there have been a lot of contradictory studies when it comes to just consuming cannabis and cancer, period. There's a lot of interesting stuff.
Well, it's
hard
pretty
to figure out what's going
consistent
on.
in terms of lung cancer,
Yes.
as far as I know, that people who smoke marijuana have lower rates of lung cancer than people who smoke nothing at all.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they are smoking plant material. We're not talking about vaporizing.
Well,
We're
not
talking
only
about
that,
smokers.
it seems to shield a lot of people from damage if they do both.
Right. Yeah, you're
Which
right.
is
The mixed
very-
tobacco
Yeah.
and the papers, which are fucking
Yeah, but even
carcinogenic.
cigarette smokers who smoke marijuana as well as
Right.
cigarettes seem to have lower incidences of lung. That might be bullshit, though. What am I?
No. I've read the
researcher?
same. I've read the same stuff, and I think
Fuck
that's.
do I know?
Well,
Shouldn't
we
even be allowed to say that.
We're
Shouldn't be-
independently confirming it.
But for sure, it's it's bad for you to smoke cigarettes. Like everybody, like that's universal across the board. If you don't like smoking marijuana, it's not even the most effective way to ingest it. I mean, the idea that the only reason why you shouldn't do it is because smoking is bad for you. Okay, how about if you eat it? It's even better that way, by the way.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
how about you use a vaporizer?
Again, very
which doesn't
dosage
hurt
dependent,
anybody?
like GHB.
Oh,
it's
yes.
dosage dependent. You got to,
Well, I yes and no, because I've had some of the best revelations of my life on the wrong dose.
But you don't want to be driving a car or
No.
talking to your parents
No,
or
I've done
showing
that
up
too.
at work.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want anything where you're going to have to act normal.
Right. But a very low dose, if you're used to it, you can act normal better. I act more normal when I've eaten a little weed than
Yeah.
when I haven't.
I'm with you, man. I've
that's
become a
true
much
for
more
LSD
sensitive.
too.
I'm sure. Well, I think that the self-examinatory aspects of it are very similar to what everybody always talks about with LSD trips, is that there's sometimes this intensely self-examinatory process that can be psychically painful. And I absolutely feel that about eating marijuana. The self-examinatory aspects. And in the tank, it's unbelievable.
I haven't done that yet.
In a tank, it's a full-blown psychedelic trip.
Yeah.
If you have a large dose of the edible marijuana and then you get in a tank, it's a full-blown psychedelic trip.
Ooh, you know what my friend just told me about marijuana and paranoia? It's pretty cool if you're getting paranoid.
No, I'm paranoid. You telling me about this?
To think about it this way, this is a cool way the next time you guys out there start having a rough ride. He was saying what's actually happening is the marijuana is healing you by pushing negative energy out of your body.
Oh, like a
And-
splinter coming out of your
yeah,
finger.
That's
Yeah.
it. And so as it moves through your because it's happening all over your body, but as it moves through your consciousness, as it moves through your thoughts, the way it manifests is in all the things that you're worried about.
Wow.
So it's like you're seeing this negative energy. You're being healed. The stuff is getting extracted from you, but in the process, your mind is manifesting all the things that you're the most afraid of. Because sometimes it's not just. I was thinking this. I used to think like, oh, when I'm freaking out on weed, it's stuff I need to deal with. But then I realized, no, not some of it is, but some of it's just like stupid, insane, paranoid nonsense, like just like driving behind a truck and imagining, fuck, what if somehow the thing just flips backwards on,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. It's like, that's just, the low survival state of the mind. That's like
Yeah.
the first chakra, like that's survival shit.
Epicurus, the Greek philosopher, Epicureanism is the school of philosophy. One of the most memorable things he said is, "Only a fool worries about things he cannot change." Right?
very smart.
But we do it all the time, And then conversely, Stanley, who was on your show, and I hope you meet it one of these days, Stanley Krippner, 82 years old or something at this point. I said to him once something about fantasies. And like, did he ever fantasize about sleeping with this person or that person? And he was like, "Oh, no, I never fantasize about something that couldn't possibly happen. I only fantasize about things that could happen. What an interesting.
That's a smart way of going about it. So
yeah.
he'd masturbate thinking about a chick in his office.
A dude, more likely, but yeah.
Oh, well, whatever. Yeah. Dude, chick, whatever floats your fancy.
Yeah,
at the
not
moment.
like, fucking Napoleon or something. You know, like that ain't going to happen, right? But, maybe Salma Hayek.
Maybe someday.
You can't jerk off to historical figures. That's just ridiculous.
That's hilarious.
What's the odds of you being able to fuck Cleopatra?
Abraham Lincoln.
Bro, even
You
if you
are
were back
cool.
there, they wouldn't even let you close to her. You
Man,
can't-
but if you're a teen jerking off to Cleopatra, that's a
right.
pretty cool kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that was,
exactly. That's a kid you want to adopt,
Yeah.
send him to college.
Have you seen that? You absolutely haven't seen it, but there's a cartoon movie, Mr. Peabody. He's a dog that's super smart, and he has a human kid that he's adopted, and he goes back in time. He has a time machine. He creates a time
that's
machine.
the Boris and Natasha family
Back
of...
then. But they
Oh, it's a
redid
new
it
one. Oh,
recently.
oh. Okay.
You're talking about
Mr. Peabody.
Mr. Peabody, that's
Oh,
what he was
yeah.
called. The dog's called Mr. Peabody,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
He's a super
He's got
genius
glasses
dog.
and-
Yeah. He knows like 20 languages. He made his own time machine.
Yeah.
It's like the smartest person in the world, but he's a dog.
Yeah,
He knows everything.
Hanna-Barbera, I think, did it. I mean,
think
that's
from
how
the
old I am.
60s.
I watched
Yeah.
the early ones, right? That was the same network that had the professor and Natasha, or
Yeah,
Boris and Natasha,
Bullwinkle.
Bullwinkle and
Yeah,
Rocky.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Speaking of cartoons, I was over at Neil Strauss's house the other day. Do you know this guy Neil Strauss? He wrote The Game and a bunch of. He wrote the book.
I
Whatever.
know.
A
Is
whole
Is he
bunch
a
of books.
pickup artist guy?
He's
Is
the
that
guy
what
who
that
wrote The
is?
Game,
Okay.
right? But he 5 other books, that have nothing to do with that.
Oh, yeah, we've
he's a really
talked about
interesting
him,
guy.
yeah.
Anyway, we're at his house hanging out, and he's like, "Oh, dude, you got to watch this." And we sit down, and he plays this cartoon that was, I guess, created by Dan Harmon, Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Rick and Morty. It's Harmon's new
Fucking
cartoon.
hilarious. Is really good. Have you seen any episodes?
Yeah, it's
I just
great.
saw the one, and it had the whole time machine and the multiple universes, and it is so packed with intelligence.
Harmon is one of the he's like one of those people who, when you say, some people are just like, that's a genius. But he's like an actual genius. He understands story structure in this way that he's just able to embed that into anything that he works on, and it gives
Right.
it that crazy life that you're talking about. He's a smart motherfucker.
Yeah, I met him in your kitchen. Had no idea who he was. Talked to him for. I meet Dan, and he's there with his girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
And I don't
Aaron.
think they're not going to matter. They're not going to care that I said that. Anyway, they meet me, and they're like, "Oh, were you crazy?" They're like, "Oh, you wrote a book about sex?" Yeah, that's right. And Dan goes, "So tell me this: should she be jealous because I like to watch porn and jerk off?" And it's like that's the beginning of a conversation.
Whoa.
That's the cool
That went
thing
for
about
2
him
hours.
is because he was on my podcast. He said something
He's
that
great.
has stuck with me for so long, and it's such an obvious thing, but I hadn't thought of it. But he was saying, if you're completely honest with someone about the way you feel, and they get mad, they're the ones, obviously they're the ones who are wrong.
Yeah.
They're like, because how can you get mad at someone for the way they feel? You don't control your feelings. They just sort of emerge into you, and that's what's happening. So, to be able to, articulate how you feel honestly all the time.
Innocently. That's what struck me
There's
about
no
that conversation.
No anger
Right.
behind it. It's just like,
Right.
that's what he's like. He's really cool. He's just sort of completely honest. And always, I remember, on my podcast, he was talking about, well, I'm an alcoholic. I'm a racist. I can't remember what the other thing was he said, but it was he's explaining it, why he was saying that. And every time you're around someone like that, it heals you because you're just like, oh. Or every time you say something that I might hide, it makes me not like you less, but
Right.
like you more.
Yeah.
So you realize, the very thing that I've been holding away from the world is in fact the thing
Endearing.
Yes.
The honesty of it is endearing.
Yes.
Unless
You've
you're
seen
talking
that
about
bit that I
cat
have.
fucking.
You've seen that
No,
bit.
that
People
makes us
won't
like
forgive
it.
you for that.
That bit that I have about the first time a woman hit me. About telling the truth, like somebody asked me something post-coital and I told the truth.
Oh,
You
yeah.
seen, you remember that? You know
Yeah,
that
I
bit?
do.
They're like, why are you mad at me for something I'm thinking? I didn't even ask you. Like,
Yeah.
you asked me,
Oh, yeah, I
and then you
remember that
hit
bit.
me
Yeah.
because I told you the truth, because
Yeah.
this is what I really think of. You don't like me.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to mold me. You're trying to turn me into something.
Yes, in that world, the idea of living in a kind of world where you've had the courage to throw off the oppression of other people's desire for how you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
God damn it, so many people carry that weight around, you know, like you don't even mean to, but
What's
it's like,
the fear of being judged, the fear of gossip, the fear
Ostracized.
of being looked at negatively in the community? Like, oh, you know what Duncan does? He wears a ball gag.
right.
And then you talk to a guy like, I like being ball gagged. I like being. You're like, I do too.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Everything's
I don't
fine.
care. I like it. This is what I like. I like
Fine.
getting my feet massaged. Like, me too.
Yeah.
Like, there's something like, why is that a weird? Why is one weird and the other one's not? They're both fucking weird. It's just as weird to want to get ball gagged as it is to want a person to rub oil over your fucking feet and rub your feet and massage your feet. Like, what? That's not weird. Neither one of them are weird. But the foot thing, you can get your foot rubbed at the fucking airport. You know,
Yeah.
try getting ball gagged at the airport. Like, I'm kind of freaking out about this flight. Do you think you could maybe just give me a light lashing and a ball gagging? And yeah, come in here, man.
Yeah.
Shut up. You're scum. Swap. I am scum. Swap. I don't want to hear you fucking talk. Put this in your mouth.
Thank
All
you.
right, listen, man. Your flight's in 20 minutes, so let me unhook you here.
Right.
Yeah.
And you feel better? Oh, I'm fucking relaxed.
It's like that Monty Python gag. You remember that thing, the Monty Python thing, where they walk into a room and somebody hits him over the head, and he goes, "Ow, what is that?" He's like, "Well, this is the physical punishment." He's like, "No, I wanted insult." "Oh, sorry, that's right
yeah,
down the road,
right.
down the hall."
Yeah, I
the
remember
world
that.
was beautiful.
Argument. Yeah.
The world was beautiful. You could get jerked off at the airport.
Well,
If the
one
world
of
was
these
beautiful.
fucking time machines, dude. They're gonna have
That's
these
right.
holodecks, right? You'll go and you get whatever the fuck you want at the airport.
We'll have missed the window then. It should be real people that love you and jerk you off.
Well, you're asking
okay,
for people
wait a
to jerk
minute.
you off at the airport
Wait
who
a
love
Really
you.
kind, super sweet people who just exude love.
You've been trained
And
to love.
They come in and there's these beautiful people and they hug you and they smell great and they're clean and they're giving you a massage and they jerk you off.
Somebody
And they
was
do it
telling
because
me,
they care about you. They do it because they're nice and they want your money too. But this
Do you
not
have a bit about this? I heard somebody
No.
telling a story recently about like going to this place for hand
You
jobs,
should.
and the woman was like this really nice Korean 50-year-old who talked
No.
about her
A
kids
comic?
and stuff.
Oh, that's
I
sweet.
don't
While she was
remem-
jerking him off?
Well, not maybe
Whoa,
while,
that's a
but like
boner killer.
afterwards, you know.
Nothing
and
kills
he
your
developed
boners.
this affectionate relationship with her.
I told you that story. You're
Was it
talking
you?
about me telling you the time I got.
Don't tell the story online.
I don't care. I've talked about it before on my podcast because I
So it
was.
was Duncan.
Would you say was it you? Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I don't remember who it was.
Yeah, like I got when I went to get my first happy ending massage. I'd never done it before. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I want to see what it's like. I'm in. I remember the moment, the decision. Like, you know, Tony Robbins says, action is a decision you make in your mind. Like, I remember when the key
Yeah.
I'm doing this.
Like where you're going to jump off a high thing, that moment
Yeah,
where
you're
you're
like,
going to
I'm doing
jump.
it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna go get jerked off at a massage parlor, and I remember like looking at myself in the mirror and like thinking, "Well, you're a criminal. You're like
You're a criminal.
You're a sex criminal." And then driving there, and I'm excited, and I'm like, I really am feeling evil. That was the main thing. I'm like feeling like, oh yeah, you're really off the rails. This was like
Who's a dirty boy?
this is after my mom had died, and I'd gone a little crazy, and I was like, I'm gonna let myself do whatever I want right now because I'm out of my mind, and there's some kind of like, you know, it's an excuse really. It's like there's probably no connection at all, but
Well, you're looking for comfort, man.
yeah, trying to distract yourself a little
Yeah.
bit, but it was more than that, man. It was this insane like, it was rebellion. It was
You were
weird.
a dirty boy.
Dirty boy. So I got there, and you know, I still see my mom's ghost, and my mom was sitting in the car with me, you know, whispering, "You're gonna get jerked off, son. I'm so proud of you." I'm just kidding, you guys.
Obviously. I was going to let that one float.
Well, are we?
I just tried to say something so awful.
This is like dead zone ping pong here. Next time, you gotta leave the two of us stunned for 20
I
seconds.
don't have it in me, man. I'm done.
your
I've said
turn, Joe.
the
I
most
Can't freak
controversial
out,
shit
Joe,
I
but I
can
might
come
have
up.
gotten you. I can't. But
He has a thing he does where he's just got this extra, like, 2% glimmer in his eye where he's about to say something really fucked up.
Yeah.
And I just go, oh,
Here it
really?
comes.
I just know him too well.
Well, I couldn't see. He's looking at you.
There's a guy that I know that'll do that right before he brags. He has this glimmer, and I'm like, I always
here it
say,
comes.
please don't do it. And then he'll tell you about, you know, his Lamborghini. Like, right before he does it.
So it's
he's
like a poker
glimmer.
tell.
It's totally a poker tell.
Yeah.
I wish I was good at poker just to find out if I could pick up signals from people. I think that would be the coolest thing about poker. The bad
It
thing
is.
would be how
It
addictive
is.
it is, but the cool thing would be if you could really like see something in a person and you were confirmed I would like to know,
I used to
what
play
that
poker
is.
every Sunday from like 5 p.m. till 11 or midnight with the same dudes every week for probably 4 years in Barcelona.
So you get to know them.
I miss it, yeah. Because of what you're saying. Like, some of the guys are really good at, like, remembering how many cards on the table. They've seen the Jack of Hearts before, therefore he can't have the straight because the Jack of Hearts is out, and like that kind of thing, right? I'm terrible at that, especially because I would go there and get stoned and drink beer all night. There's always joints going around and beers, and like, so fuck remembering anything. But what I could hold on and sometimes win because of what you're saying, I could read people. And the whole thing about poker is lying and detecting lies.
Are you allowed to wear a welder's mask when you play poker?
It makes token a joint kind of difficult.
Or an executioner's hood with a slit with sunglasses?
Well, they can still see, the sunglasses.
Are you allowed to do that?
All right, like, here's the thing. Serious question in a way. Ben Affleck just got kicked out of this casino in Vegas, right?
What?
Yeah.
They kicked Ben Affleck out of the casino?
out of the casino and his movie star wife or whatever, because he was winning too much at the blackjack table, and they decided he was counting cards.
Wow.
It's illegal to count cards. Even they're using like 5 decks, right?
Wait a minute. They kick Ben Affleck out for counting cards?
Ben Affleck is world-class poker player.
Is he really?
Super world-class poker player, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah,
wow.
like, he sits at the big table in Vegas in these competitions, ends up like out of 5,000 dudes, he's like one of the top dozen, in the final. Yeah, he's really, really good.
That's incredible. So he's good at blackjack too? Like, he knows how to count. You can count 5 decks?
Well, I guess so. Yeah, I'm not sure it's exactly 5 decks, but it's multiple decks in the same game, right?
Holy shit.
But what pisses me off about that is, like, if you can do that, you ought to be able to fucking win. Especially if you're Ben Affleck, because that's bringing people to your casino.
I would think that would bring incredible amounts of people to the casino to know that you could go watch Ben Affleck gamble
and win,
count cards.
Well, even if it wasn't gambling or counting cards, just the fact that he's there, I would think that would be worth millions of dollars
move
in
by
publicity.
Management, yeah.
Well, the other thing
it's
is
a lot of money, right? So
how much is he gambling?
It's probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions on the table.
Oh my God,
millions.
That's what Dana White does.
not in any given hand, right? But over an hour or 2 hours, that's a lot of money that piles up.
Dana White's been kicked out of the
win.
Palms because
Same thing.
He's won too much money.
Yeah,
he's been kicked out of the Palms. He's won as much as $7 million in a night. And
how do they kick you out? What do they say?
So you can't come here anymore. Or they say they've done that to him, or they cut your credit. Like, a guy like that, like, it's connected to his bank account. Like, they say, hey, look, obviously he's got a lot of money, or it's correlated by his bank account. They said, this guy's worth, X amount of money. He's good for $1 million on an account.
Right.
And so they apparently, because he hit them hard, like 2 or 3 times in a row, where he won a shitload of money, because apparently he's really good at blackjack. And he plays for a lot of money. And if he gets hot, he'll win a lot of money. And he's lost as much as $1 million, but he's won as much as like 6 or 7 million, I think.
7 million
in a night. In a night.
How do they give that? Did they give you a
garbage
check?
bags?
No.
Yep. They didn't give him suitcases. They didn't give him nothing. They went out to the car and got garbage bags. Someone had to go get garbage bags, and they came back into the casino and they carried $7 million out to their car in garbage bags.
They don't wire the money?
Nope.
So you're driving away from there with $7 million in your car.
Why don't they wire it? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Because they're dicks. Because they don't want you to win. That's my whole point with raising this. They're winning constantly. The whole thing's set up so they can win. One guy in a million figures out how to tweak the system, and he wins money, and they kick him out.
Because that guy can do that over and over and over and over and over.
Well, they're doing it over and over, and that's just one guy.
What do you do with $7 million? He takes it to the bank?
I don't know.
Bank of America?
I never asked him. It's one of those questions where I felt like if he wanted me to know, he'd tell me.
Have you seen the video of the Mexican drug lord's house that had all those stacks of money in it?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Like, 'cause he can't put it in the bank?
Yeah, he had a room stacked from the floor to like 7 feet high in money.
Yeah.
Remember
that Breaking Bad scene where he has the storage unit?
Yeah.
And it's just a pallet of hundreds.
Yeah. That's a problem. They were talking about how much money, I can't remember who it was. It's some great documentary on this Colombian drug lord. And they were talking about how many rubber bands he had to order a month to
wrap the money.
And it was a huge amount. He had to have these constant shipments of rubber bands coming in because you're just processing. You've become like a paper processing plant.
Yeah.
It's just paper.
Yeah, you're just stacking paper and numbering them.
And you've got
them.
dozens of people working for you with your hundreds. who you have to convince not to go home with your hundreds.
Yeah, and how could you ever possibly have an accurate account of how many dollar bills are actually in that stack?
Never could.
I mean, you could get to the last row and 15 fucking stacks down. There's 300s that are missing.
Yeah.
And they're replaced with paper.
I'm pretty sure you take your money counters out back to your wild pigs that devour the bodies of people who tried to steal your money, and you just say, check out these wild pigs. These are my pigs.
Yeah.
And then anyone I kill, I throw them in there. Sometimes while they're still alive, and the pigs eat them.
Well, a lot of times what they do is they make people work naked.
Yeah.
That's what they do in Coke places.
What?
They make all the women work naked. That was in Goodfellas. Because when you work naked, you're not going to have any clothes on. You won't be able to stuff anything up your
I don't remember
cooter.
that from Goodfellas.
I might have made that up.
That's what Bennett
Might have
does
made the
in Chiang
Goodfellas
Mai,
part.
right?
I don't know.
Was it New Jack City, maybe? Was it New Jack City? It was one of those drug dealer movies.
Was Johnny Depp in one?
Might have been.
That
Might have
one?
been that one where
You know
you
what I'm talking
played
about?
the undercover mobster.
Yeah.
What was that movie? Do you remember?
I don't know.
It was a good movie, though.
It's the dude's name, I
Al
think.
Pacino and
Al
him.
Pacino's in it.
That's so
Johnny Darko?
futuristic.
Is that Johnny
No.
Darko?
Donnie Darko was
Donnie
that
Darko,
movie with
yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man, but that's so weird to imagine a room full of naked women manufacturing cocaine.
Donnie Brasco.
Donnie Brasco.
Thank you, Jamie.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, all right. So speaking of weird, I think the theme was bizarre shit that's happening these days.
You're so organized. Look, he's got notes
I
and
got
shit.
notes
He's so
and
different
stuff.
than
I
us.
take this really
I gotta go there.
seriously.
Well, you asked us before. We never even got to it, whether or not you prepare.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I don't. I never prepared, like when I came in to talk with you, because I figured we'll talk about the book or whatever, right? You know, so it's spontaneous. And I don't prepare when you guys are doing this podcast. Mm-hmm. But doing it myself, I thought I should have shit to talk about. I mean, not with you guys. It's hanging out with friends, so shit happens, right?
Yeah.
And you're both live wires, so there's never any need for that. But I took some notes, like shit that might be interesting. You saw I asked on Twitter, like, is there anything I should? And you said pizza versus spaghetti. That was your suggestion. What the fuck is that? Stupid fucking suggestion.
No, I was thinking it's actually a pretty good suggestion.
Man. He's a fucking comedian.
It's a good
That's
suggestion.
what we do. We say shit that's inappropriate.
Pizza's
I
better.
thought of another name for the podcast, but it's probably because I've got a working title, the Tripodcast, which I don't know. You've got the Shrimp Parade.
I have another name.
I thought up one today, the Philosopher's Stoned.
That sounds so corny.
It
like
is
we're about to
corny.
put out a really bad book.
or bad, I was thinking a record, and we play at the Renaissance Festival.
What about this? What do you guys think of this for the name? Lord Carrington's Three Little Pretty Pals.
I like Old Men in Snow. I like Shrimp Parade. Shrimp Parade's funny. What I like about the Shrimp Parade is it's so ridiculous. It's like automatically you have to.
It's beyond corny.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous that automatically you have to abandon any idea that you're dealing with like a serious show. Like I don't like it when they fuck around too much. I like it when they go into serious philosophical discussions. It's called the Shrimp Parade.
Because no one can take a shrimp parade seriously.
I also like that shrimp and shellfish in general were overlooked as the forbidden things of the Bible. When everybody's coming down on homosexuals.
4 times as much, right? That's the statistic.
Exactly.
4 times as much.
Crustaceans, thou shalt not.
You're not supposed to eat shrimp, you fuckheads. But no one's going in front of the Red Lobster, picketing and protesting it as a house of sin.
Yeah. That's a great concept.
It's true. It's so ridiculous. People are blocking gay marriage. Nobody's locking the door to Red Lobster. Christians show up at Red Lobster all the time. They show up with Jesus tattoos. How about that? You want to hear the double hypocrite? Christians that don't like gay marriage show up at the Red Lobster with a Jesus tattoo.
Wow.
Like, you're talking about people who are just fucking cherry picking. You cherry pick the shit out of what you think is Jesus thinks is bad. Jesus thinks a lot of shit in there is supposed to be bad.
Yeah.
Jesus, by the way, it's not Jesus.
No,
They're going all the
They're
way
going
back
Old
to
Testament.
Leviticus.
By the way, they're not even reading it. Most of them don't even have an idea.
Is
especially
there
if
an
you have
audio book of the Bible?
It must be, right? Would imagine.
That's a long
By
drive.
Peter O'Toole or something like that. A long drive.
That's a long.
That's a long.
It's not a drive you want to
drive.
take.
The Book of Kings, just names.
You're in the middle of the book and you're like, what the fuck? Shut this off. You're killing me.
I gotta pee.
Man, I did see some clips from that Noah movie. And
How'd it look?
It looked cool, man.
Yeah, I've heard it's not
cool.
bad, actually.
Yeah, there was a thing on Reddit. In fact, you could look it up, Noah, war, and it's like, it's really cool the way that they So they're doing the book of Genesis on the first day, the second day, the third day, and they're illustrating it. But the way they're showing it is as though it was evolution. So they're showing just this sped up version of the earth, growing life and meteors hitting. And it's fucking cool, man. It's really cool. Well, it's not like remember the Passion of the Christ?
Yeah.
The Mel Gibson thing that's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's just like, it was.
Although the other one, the Scorsese, The Last Temptation of Christ, that was interesting.
John Malkovich.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was
music
Gnostic.
by. You know who did the soundtrack to that?
Peter Gabriel.
Yes, and he said it was the piece of music that he was most proud of in his entire life.
Wasn't it Willem Dafoe?
Yeah, Willem Dafoe
that's
played
it. Well,
Jesus.
I get them mixed up all the time.
I thought there was another one, maybe another Jesus
No,
movie.
Passion of the Christ used to be, when you were in college, that's the music you had sex to.
Oh, I've had lots of sex to that music. I actually thanked Peter Gabriel in person for providing the soundtrack to my sex life. No, it's not in your eyes. It's all this
like Middle Eastern.
It's all this
mystical
North African,
music.
like lots of tight drums and
Yeah.
You want to have a disappointing relationship.
it's good.
Start your first fuck to In Your Eyes. Peter Gabriel song.
That'd be terrible.
Oh,
That's
ruin the whole
that's
mood.
not for fucking. That's for splooging.
You can't choke somebody while you listen to that song.
In your eyes.
Complete in your eyes.
That's a what's that kabuki? What's that called? The kabaki. You know what I'm talking about?
Bukaki?
Bukaki. That's a
Oh.
Bukaki song.
Yeah, it's more
You
of a
know what?
Bukaki
Yeah,
song
or
than-
you know what else is a Bukaki song? That awful, rancid, "I'm Happy" song that everyone's playing everywhere now. That song is the when you
How's it
listen.
go again? Sing it.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. But there's like a part
No,
of this.
that's Fiddler on the Roof you're doing. I'm so happy, happy am I.
It's like when you
It's
run.
like West Side Story or
Yeah.
something.
You know, like when you run into
no,
like.
it's I'm so pretty. Sorry.
You know when you run into like super like people who like tell you they're happy, but the way they're telling you they're happy is they're trying to make you feel bad because they're so happy.
Yeah.
It's like it's that kind of song, like.
Don't worry, be happy did
Clap
that
along
to me.
if you feel the thing, if you like the feel. If you don't, and then one of the words is like, "Are you not happy? I'm sorry, but I'm so happy." If there's a jab in there, like, "Oh, you're not happy."
There's a jab.
There is. That's a shit song. That's a shit. And by the way, did you hear? Did you hear that a woman died in a fatal car accident? And she was texting her friend. Her last text was, "I really love this song, I'm So Happy" by...
Is that true?
Yes. Look it up, man. That was her last text. She's like, "This I'm So Happy song is great." And her bad taste in music, like, got
Killed
her
her.
struck down by the universe.
But at least she died. She died happy. You know?
Well, I guess
That's
so.
a good point, man. Better than that.
It just sounds like somebody who didn't take their manic depression drugs or something as they're like running naked down the beach with the blood of some freshly ripped apart toddler that they killed behind an outhouse. I'm so happy.
Anyhow, do you guys remember Nelson Rockefeller? Hey, you got Joe stunned into silence again there. That was
The toddler behind the dumpster.
Joe's eyes were glazing over.
I knew he was going to go somewhere bad. But I was like, a toddler behind an outhouse. Like,
I'm sorry.
Oh my
I'm listening.
God.
I've been listening to this.
this is the worst place to get killed, behind an outhouse.
On the
And all the
beach.
places in the woods.
Yeah.
Because there's so many pictures you paint by saying behind an outhouse. First of all, you're near a fucking outhouse, which is almost always a mistake. If anywhere you
necessary
if you're
mistake.
near a fucking outhouse, like, oh, you got to get to a place where they have plumbing. This is crazy.
No.
It's 2014.
You gotta travel,
What are
bro.
you doing near a fucking outhouse? And someone's got a knife on you? Oh, and they're killing the baby. Behind a fucking outhouse.
And don't forget, they're singing that shitty
Yeah.
song while they do
The
it.
soundtrack.
I'm so happy.
Through a broken speaker, so it makes
Yeah.
it even worse. So a blown speaker, so it's crackling and tinning
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
And it's just
and
death.
it's raining.
And
Did
the
I ever tell
person-
you guys about when I shit on the pigs' faces?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
I didn't hear that.
Well, yeah, whatever. We'll skip it. I didn't.
It was on the same podcast. You told it on this podcast.
It was at a bus stop
You
in
know,
Indonesia,
I must have been- I
and it
might
was
have
an
been
outhouse.
pissing.
You don't even listen, bro.
You might have been pissed. It was at an outhouse. For those who didn't hear that, when I was at an outhouse in Indonesia on this long bus ride, and we pull into this thing, and there are all these other buses, and there's this like long building with 20 doors on it, 2 steps up, and and they're all toilets, right? But they're not toilets; they're just like holes in the floor. And you go in, and you look, and there are all these pigs under there. It's built like it's a platform over this pig thing, and there are all these pigs looking up at you, and they're like 2 or 3 feet below the hole, and just looking up at you with turds on their faces and like.
It's so
that
gross.
Sucks.
It's so dark. Dude.
I fed a pig last night. My cousin's raising a pig in his apartment.
Oh, I'm glad that you're talking about a person.
It's a little pig like this big. Have you guys ever hung out?
Potbelly, like a potbelly?
Yeah, potbelly.
They're smart, right?
They're really smart.
Yeah.
They're smarter than dogs. It acted like a dog, but it's like the best of the dog and the cat because it has a litter box.
Whoa.
Pig knows to shit in its litter box.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How big is its litter box? Jesus Christ.
It's pretty, it's like a
Is it
2 by
outside?
3. He had it inside, but the pig was outside when I was there.
So
and
the
I
pig will
fed
go
it.
outside or
Yeah, well,
inside?
it's like enclosed area, so it can't run away, right? Because coyotes would have that pig in 10 minutes in Topanga.
Does the
No
pig,
kidding, right?
is it like a monkey smart?
No. I mean, I only spent 20 minutes with it, but it seemed to me like dog smart, but more domesticated in a way, at least in terms of it won't shit on your carpet.
Did you know that all monkeys or all apes are monkeys?
What?
Did you know that all apes are monkeys?
I didn't.
No.
Yeah. Apparently, all primates are everything. Primates are monkeys, apes, but apes. Not all monkeys are apes, but all apes are monkeys. That's how it works.
Well,
That an ape is, if you look at the chain
who told you this?
online, fucking website.
All right.
It had a
All right.
graph.
Well, it's not quite accurate because apes are different from monkeys. Monkeys have
Right.
tails, apes
Right.
don't.
Right, but
They're both primates.
Right,
But,
but-
monkeys are split off from the line that led to apes about 20 million years ago.
Right. That's what they were saying. But they were
Yeah.
saying that all apes come from monkeys. So all apes are technically monkeys. But not all monkeys are apes. When a monkey has a tail, it's a monkey. And an ape is a different thing than a monkey. But all apes are monkeys. So it's not that all monkeys are that, and a monkey's not an ape. And when you look at an ape, that's an ape, that's a monkey. You're correct. However, they're both primates, and the ape is also a monkey.
I feel like
Is that right? Is that correct?
I don't think so. I think what you're confusing is that the
I'm
last
definitely
common...
not confusing it. I'm
Okay,
repeating
well,
what
I'm
what
offering you a way out here.
No,
I
I'd
think-
like to be wrong here.
I think the last common ancestor of apes and monkeys probably had a tail, had a prehensile tail. So they would say in that sense, you could say apes come from monkeys because the definition of monkey is something with a prehensile tail, and apes came from that.
I think it's about the semantics thing that everybody wants to,
Yeah. If you look at the classification, the phyla, the family, all that business in a biological chart, I think it'll show you apes.
Well, this is
and
what it shows.
They're both simians.
It's a nested hierarchy. It says apes are monkeys in the same way that monkeys are primates. Humans are apes, and I'm a human. It's called the nested hierarchy. That means that all apes are monkeys, but not all monkeys are apes. And they show the human hierarchy. They show the difference.
Zygoma.
Ding, 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 ding.
Right.
Yeah. It's apparently.
somebody's got to turn this into a song. It's a perfect Disney song. Not all apes are monkeys, but not all monkeys are apes.
Yeah, or like a Dr. Seuss thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good... Well, all right, you might be right. I'll look at it
This
later.
is just. This is a science website, so they might be wrong. What do I know? I'm not. I'm certainly not right.
So what's their point in saying that monkeys
Well,
have
the-
certain characteristics?
Well, the point is that people love to correct folks when they say
Oh,
people are a bunch
people
of dumb
like me.
monkeys.
Right.
And they're saying, well, actually, no. And if you follow the nested hierarchy, that everything is a primate, and then there are monkeys, and then advanced monkeys are apes, advanced apes are humans.
Right.
So
Yeah,
apes,
all right, we'll
humans
look
are
at it.
apes, humans are apes, but not all apes are humans.
And not all... Yeah, right.
So apes are monkeys, but not all monkeys are apes.
Cool.
All of them are primates. This is, look, obviously I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just reading this. But technically that is how it goes, allegedly,
All right.
according to this
We'll
website.
look at that and work that out.
Monkey apparently isn't a scientific term in the first place, which is part of the problem.
Yeah, and in Spanish, there's no word to distinguish the two. So I often run into a big mess when I'm trying to explain the shit in Spain and monos, but there's no word. Simios is the word they use for apes, but simios also means simians, which is a bigger classification that includes, as you say, both
Yeah.
monkeys and apes.
The true term monkey is actually a generic term that refers to all simians. So a monkey is not. It's not a term.
So you're saying
like
it's not a scientific term?
No, it's
monkey.
not scientific.
So
They're simians.
yeah.
So chimpanzee, gorilla, gabon, orangutan, you could call them all monkeys.
Right.
It's cool how you're an expert at monkeys. You've always loved monkeys. Ever since I've known you, you've loved monkeys.
I've been fascinated by them.
Have you ever spent time in the presence of a chimp? Or
My grandmother had a monkey.
Oh, really?
My grandmother had a monkey that she kept in the attic. It was named Chi-Chi, and it used to bite you. It would bite you if you got close. It would fucking swing at you. Chi-Chi didn't play with anybody but Grandma. And she used to give it gum. It would unwrap gum and chew gum and look at you like a little fucking criminal that hung out in your grandmother's arms.
So what kind of monkey was it?
I don't know. It had a tail. I was little. I don't remember anything, but I remember it was a creepy fucking animal. And everybody was scared of Chi-Chi. And eventually my grandfather told that crazy bitch she had to get rid of it.
What'd you do with it?
She had to get rid of it. I don't know. I was 5 or something. I really have no idea what happened to the thing. I could probably ask my mom, but she probably didn't even hear the real story. I bet my grandfather killed it or something. If I had to guess, that monkey was a creep. He used to bite kids. He'd bite anybody. He'd come near Chi-Chi, he'd fucking jump on your face and
Monkeys
bite you.
will bite the shit out of you, man.
It was scared all the time because it lived in the attic rather, and it never had human contact. They treated it in a terrible way. They had this thing locked up, and I would remember I would visit my grandmother. I'd hear, and your fucking monkey screaming in the attic, like someone come play with me. They'd leave that thing up there for hours and hours at a time.
Poor Chi-Chi.
Is that why your podcast begins with that monkey scream?
No, that's just, But Brian used to open up the ones we did at the other studio with a cat meow, so it just started with a monkey on this one.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I mean, my comedy special was talking monkeys in space.
Right.
It's just
There's a talking monkey in Hinduism.
Higher Primate is my T-shirt company.
Yeah, it's definitely a theme running through.
Well, I'm just fascinated by how similar we are to them in the first place.
Genetically, we're closer to chimps and bonobos than the Indian elephant is to the African elephant.
Wow.
That's wild. Nuts. Yeah.
Aliens.
You know about Hanuman?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's what you're into, man. You don't even know it, but that's your thing. You're like a Hanuman.
That's the ape was peeling open his chest to reveal another ape peeling open his chest.
Yeah,
right?
but it's a warrior figure.
Yeah.
The ape was like Hanuman was like a warrior, and so he was serving this god Ram, and he was helping him get his wife back, who had been kidnapped, and he was like caught. He was like igniting cities, and it's really cool. It's a really fascinating symbol in Hinduism.
Yeah.
I have a Hanuman T-shirt.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I sell this one. This is Hanuman.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's one of the higherprimate.com T-shirts.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Super
It's a
cool,
great
man.
symbol.
Hanuman only has 2 arms.
Really? These motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Goddamn artists.
So what?
They made him extra dope.
Most Hindu deities have 4 arms.
Yeah, but he's high as fuck. It's a different Hanuman.
It's Hanuman's brother.
It's Hanuman on shrooms.
Did you ever see the Richard Pryor thing about the monkey that fucked him in the ear?
Yeah.
That was such a great thing. It's a great bit. Yeah. Anyway, did you read this shit about the young blood? They
Can't
infused the young blood from one rat into the other.
Yeah,
Insane. Really interesting.
real vampire shit.
So are we going to be farming children soon? Is that what's coming?
Well, all you have to do is just make something without a head that can never be alive.
When I said that around Bill Burr, remember when we were at the Ice House and I said that around Bill Burr, and he goes, "Bad time to be a kid."
Oh, that's so funny. That's so Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Even funny with his accent. Bad time to be a kid.
Shit, man.
That's so funny.
All right, so we should probably wrap this up. It's almost 3 hours, or you guys have places to go, things to do?
That was an awesome fucking podcast.
That was a great cast.
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you, guys.
That was so much fun. I love doing these, man. They're so much
fun.
fun.
Yeah, and again, congratulations, 500. I mean,
stop saying congratulations.
No,
I don't
love
take
it.
compliments
That's
very
cool.
well.
I know you don't. It makes you. It's anytime I want to get aggressive with you, I just have to compliment.
I have
you.
a deep grasp of humility that I try to maintain at all times.
Yeah.
And I don't accept any compliments.
So fuck
Stellar episodes.
I think you're so fucking cool with your 500 episodes.
I don't know.
Duncan, how many do you have?
I have
Under your belt.
111.
Yeah, tell them how many of them are any good.
That sucks. 111. Who gives a shit?
12, because there's one that's
Who
not
gives a
released.
shit, man?
112 stellar episodes.
Out of my 500 of them, 10 of them are unlistenable at least. And there's at least another 20 that should be avoided.
It happens, man.
Have you guys ever had a guest on who just turned into a dick when he got in front of a microphone?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
then later you made an excuse and said that the machine ate it or something?
No, I probably should have.
You
There's
put
probably
everything up?
a couple that I shouldn't have released. But yeah, there's been a few where it's like, this person is so ridiculous. And also, when someone's being ridiculous, you're kind of complicit in the beating they're going to take online because you're going to
exactly. You know
There's
a bit of a I'm helping you out here.
Sort of, but I don't want, maybe you don't want to, but you're like, man, I'm going to claim innocence, but I'm going to put this online. This guy's going to get destroyed.
Yep.
Like, you know it. And you might even rub it in a little. Like, I tried to warn him.
In your intros. Really throw him under the bus. Yeah.
Or no, after the hate starts coming in, you sort of reinforce the hate by saying that, well, who saw this coming? LOL.
I did.
LOL.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of fucking idiots.
Unhappy face.
You know what happens, man? There's a lot of people that are just not nice. And they go through life.
Online shit?
Yeah, well, they go through life with this attitude of defending not being nice to the next person, defending why they were not being nice.
Yeah.
And then they get in front of you, and if you can maintain your balance and if you can maintain your composure, there are normal traits where they'll say something aggressive or douchey in some sort of way, and then there's a response, then they're in an argument. If you don't respond, or you respond with like kindness or maybe even sympathy and a genuine explanation for your own thoughts and feelings on things, and you don't just blindly react to their aggression, they implode.
Yeah.
They implode like the maniacs that they are, because they're not going through life with a plan. They're not going through life with an ethic. They're just momentum based. They're just bouncing off your shittiness and the next shittiness, and the girlfriend broke up with me, and the fucking boss doesn't appreciate me, and fucking government wants my taxes, and they're constantly in this state of
panic.
It's that old expression. If you go out of your house and you run into one asshole, you might have just run into an asshole. But if everybody you run into is an asshole, you're the asshole.
You're the asshole.
Jersey.
Yeah.
And so my grandmother lived with her monkey. Newark, New Jersey.
Duncan.
That's the button right there. That's it. We lock this bitch up tight.
We're out of here.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Shut the lights off when you leave.